and love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion.
God's not dead.
And love explode and bring the
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Good morning. Welcome to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. 8th year of Chungi, 6th month, 24th day by the heavenly calendar. I'm your host, Cheongju Sean Moon, second king of Cheongguk. Let's go first to our AccuWeather forecast with Tim, the Ancient Elder. Tim.
Good morning. It's a drizzly morning here in the Cheongguk area. The temperature is actually somewhat warmer than it usually is this time of year. It's around 67 degrees, usually in the upper 50s or lower 60s this time of year. After some rain this morning, we're going to have a partly cloudy skies this afternoon with the possibility of a thunderstorm later in the day. I want to talk a little bit about the eclipse this morning. There's a total solar eclipse that will be visible from a lot of areas in the United States on Monday, August 21st. Here in the Cheonryugung, we will not have the total eclipse because we're not in that track. It'll be about 76%. It's going to happen early or in the afternoon of Monday. It's going to start at 1:21 p.m. on Monday, and it will reach its maximum at 2:42 p.m. and it will end at 3:58 p.m. So a total duration of 2 hours and 37 minutes. As I said, at the maximum, the moon will be covering 76% of the sun. So it'll get dark, somewhat dark, but it will not be a total eclipse. If we wanted to see the total eclipse, we'd have to go down south or west, or because it's going in a diagonal direction from northwest to southeast across the United States. The media is telling people to, of course, don't look at it with your bare eyes. That's kind of common sense, but also be careful what kind of eclipse glasses you buy, because so many people are looking for eclipse glasses that some fraudsters are getting into the market. So make sure that you buy something that is actually going to protect your eyes the way it's supposed to. And also, the media seems to be encouraging people to go to national parks to view this. I'm not exactly sure why, if this is a marketing effort by the National Park Service. I think the best place to view it would be the Cheonryugung. But anyway, they're pushing people to go to Yosemite and Grand Teton National Park and other national parks that are going to be in the exact track of the total eclipse. And I guess the national parks are expecting a lot of people to be visiting them.
Now, do they know like when it's going to be happening during the daytime?
Yes.
Just all day long?
No. So for here, the maximum will be at 2:42 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the moon is going to, it's a continuous process. So the moon will come along
Slowly
and then hide the sun at some point. And so here it will be between 1:21 and 3:58 p.m. This total process will occur, and it'll be at its maximum at 2:42 p.m. on Monday.
And this is, of course, because the moon is between the sun
and the earth. Yes.
All right, it's a special day. Make sure you don't look at the eclipse with your bare eyes. You will become blind. There's cases where people have become permanently blind because they stared into the sun with the eclipse. It'll basically burn out your eyes.
Yes, as well. It's very dangerous. Yes.
So do not look straight into the eclipse, and don't buy cheap, fake sunglasses. Make sure you get reputable sunglasses that are...
Actually, regular sunglasses apparently won't do the trick. It has to be eclipse glasses. Yeah.
That's a very important point.
Yeah.
Not regular sunglasses. Not regular sunglasses. Get eclipse sunglasses.
It's not just the visible rays that can damage your eyes, that will damage your eyes. It's also some of the invisible rays that will do even more damage. So you have to have glasses that will block those damaging rays.
So we'll see. We'll see if we are 70%, 76% darker today.
Not today, next Monday.
I'm sorry, next Monday. Next Monday. When the eclipse comes, we'll see if we're actually 76% darker. I think we've had eclipses in the past.
Well, this is the first time since 1979 that a solar eclipse was visible from somewhere in the contiguous United States.
Oh, wow.
And the last time that it was actually visible from coast to coast was in 1918.
Whoa.
So it doesn't happen very often.
That's interesting. Okay, so maybe we haven't seen an eclipse of this caliber. All right, Tim, thank you very much for that morning report and also upcoming eclipse. Protect your eyes with not sunglasses, but eclipse glasses if you are going to gaze at the sun. All right, folks, today we are in 2 Thessalonians, and we are in the section verse 10. Is the rhema today. For even when we were with you, we commanded you this: if anyone will not work, neither shall he eat. For we hear that there are some who walk among you in a disorderly manner, not working at all, but are busy bodies. Now those who are such, we command and exhort through our Lord Jesus Christ, that they work in quietness and eat their own bread. But as for you, brethren, do not grow weary in doing good. And if anyone does not obey our word in this epistle, note that person, and do not keep company with him, that he may be ashamed. Yet do not count him as an enemy, but admonish him as a brother. Amen, Aju. There you go. Right there, we see it. If anyone will not work, neither shall he eat. This is an absolutely central part of the Christian ethic. Not only of church polity, but also of volunteerism and charity. When charity, when the state takes care of welfare, it becomes a scenario where there's no more accountability. Okay? And the state actually wants to use force to steal from those who have and produce wealth, to, of course, take a majority for themselves and their friends and their bureaucrats in the deep state. But then, of course, morally posture and virtue signal and pretend that they're doing great deeds helping the poor when they're really helping divide the minority classes and helping to implode their families. Case in point is when in America, when the welfare state came in, it targeted, of course, the black neighborhoods. And the politicians sold it as, oh, we have to be compassionate to the blacks, we have to be compassionate. But what did it do to the black community? The black community used to be heavily, strongly, of course, Christian, but a different form, a different type of Christianity. Very strong family-based Christianity. Had some of the highest entrepreneurial rates, people starting businesses, of any a group. Also some of the highest college and university graduation rates. So the black community was very up and coming. We have it on, of course, we have it on record. Lyndon B. Johnson going on, is recorded, is on record saying the blacks are becoming too uppity. Why? Because the Democratic Party was voting against freeing the blacks. They were running the Ku Klux Klan. And the Republicans, first Republican candidate being Abraham Lincoln, was fighting for freedom of blacks. So you have the white racist Democrats running the Ku Klux Klan, terrorizing the blacks. The blacks started fighting for, black community started fighting back against the terrorism with organizations like, for example, the NRA, National Rifle Association, which started to arm the blacks. But Lyndon B. Johnson, the racist white president, said, they're getting too uppity. Give them a little, but not enough to make a difference. Meaning welfare. $200 a month. And on $200 a month, we'll have, or a couple dollars a month, we'll have them voting Democrat for the next 200 years. He knew that if he could utilize government, which is force, so use force, and use the power of the government apparatus and federalization of government apparatus, which happened because of the Civil War and due to the Civil War, at an unprecedented level in American history, use that power, then to say, okay, we're going to take from, vote for us, we're going to raise taxes on people on everybody, especially the middle class, not on the super elite because they're our friends. Lyndon B. Johnson being funded by a lot of the oil magnates. A real gangster. I believe he was from Texas, right? Was
Johnson, yes, East Texas.
Texas, East
He was
Texas.
the senator from Texas, yes, before president.
So, getting all those oil sponsors, and we won't tax the super rich, like the oil magnates that are funding it. We're going to tax the middle class, steal their money, and we're going to pretend like we care for the black community, when we really are the racist ones trying to stop their abolition, but it's gotten to a point where they're going to be free. They're going to start getting the vote, and they're going to vote against us. So we're going to come across, we're going to rebrand ourselves as a party that's going to take care of the blacks or the minorities. And we are going to give them free welfare. Now, what happened after there's free welfare? Well, there are some clauses on that welfare. If you wanted to receive that welfare or that, quote, government assistance, you have to first show divorce papers. So, by that, you incentivize divorce, and divorce skyrockets in the black community. Because now, women are saying, hey, I don't need my man, I'm going to get a bigger, better deal, BBD, from the government, which will give me free money. What they call government assistance. And so you then have a breakdown of the SWAT team unit of the family. And you have men and women deciding divorce is the key. To get that couple $100. Of course, what that does is it ravages the children, because the children always get terribly traumatized by divorce. It creates a whole class of irresponsible boys who then go into crime. It doesn't help, of course, that the federal government has started targeting the black community at the same time as well with the drug trade and the heroin epidemic, targeting the black communities. So then the kids get into drugs, they get into gangs. You got black market prices because of the drugs that are peddled and are made illegal by the federal government, which then drives up the prices. So you get these young boys who get sucked into the drug trade, sucked in an environment where they only have a mom, do not learn discipline from a dad and powerful male figures, which they had in the 30s, you name it. And you have a complete social breakdown. So you have a family structure in the black community that went from 8 out of 10, more than 80% of black families had fathers in the house. That's huge, because everybody knows having a dad in the house is absolutely critical, especially a strong dad in the house. It's critical as young boys grow up. That's where they learn responsibility. That's from whom they learn how to be a man. They have a male role model. No matter how moms raise their boys in this politically correct world, they will not be their sons' role models, because men, boys, young boys need males and fathers as their role models. So as you lost the Christian male father in the home, and it got overtaken by welfare moms. Of course, many times we're told a lie. We're told welfare would free you, whereas it actually made them poor, and they had to work 2 or 3 jobs on top of that because now they kicked out their husband, or maybe that husband ran away because of the lowering morality that was happening because of no more fathers in the home. Fathers being the absolute key sociological factor in a home that increases children's future wage earnings, that decreases the potential for violent crime, decreases the potential for incarceration, decreases the potential for divorce. Fathers are absolutely the key, are the pillar of a bedrock of a family. And everything's done in combination with the welfare movement, with welfare state, in combination with the drug trade, in combination with the feminist movement that says, yeah, you women can do it all. You're Superman, you're Superwoman. Of course, making them poorer and making them more unhappy because they're kicking out their greatest ally in raising a family and creating prosperity, which is their husband. And of course, in the process of doing so, they're losing their Christian morality, Christian values. The state also rewarding promiscuous women who have sex with multiple men, having multiple babies, and then being subsidized by the state. This then, of course, creates tremendous, this kind of combination of targeting on the minority communities wreaks havoc on them, and the minority communities are kept under control. Well, the black community was the biggest recipient of that throughout the decades after emancipation. But of course, after that, they used the same program, Democrats used the same program on Hispanics and poor Asians in the various cities. So, what was critical to a free and prosperous society is the ethic of don't work, you don't eat. And teaching kids that at a young age. You don't work, you don't eat. Right? When we first moved to, here, skip this break, guys. Very important. When we first moved to the wilderness, first thing we made our children do is go out and work for $1 an hour under the blazing sun and cut acres and acres of grass at then New Hope Farms, which is now sold. For hours, 6 hours a day, 5-6 hours a day. Of course, they do it. It's not really that hard. I mean, they're driving around little tractors, but still, they get the experience of working for $1 and valuing and being grateful for $1 for an hour's work of labor. These kids did it. The big kids have done it already, right? Shimpa Shiman Yangpyeong has done it. But there's a problem with Korean parents and a lot of parents. They spoil their children. And they don't make their kids do this kind of stuff. Because, of course, we understand the value of labor, and especially labor where you have to sweat and use your body. It builds character, it builds your tolerance to monotonous things. You don't always have to be stimulated to be able to work on and do things. You have a work ethic. You learn that bitching and complaining only saps your energy and doesn't produce anything. You learn how to be productive, how to relate. You learn that you must work for your food. And there's a biblical principle right here in the 2 Thessalonians. It's not only in Zen Buddhism too, the monasteries also face the same problem. They faced the problem in different centuries where people wanted to become a monk because there was just free food. And you could just basically do your rituals and take from the free food. But even in the monasteries, especially when they separated and got in different eras where Buddhism was banned by the state in China, they retreated into the mountains or the woods, and in the monasteries was the rule that you come here, you work, no work, no food. Same. Because it's the nature of survival. If you don't work, you don't eat. And it's when people lose that sense of responsibility for their own survival, for their own well-being, their family's own well-being. When they lose that, they become demonic, entitled. So, for example, today, the kids will be helping build a couple of benches around the Cheonggyegung property. I could obviously ask somebody to do it, and pay them to build the logs, build the benches. But having the kids do the work, and of course today the younger kids will help today. The smaller kids also will help today. They will actually build for the first time their first project actually. So it will be their first building project. Now, Shiman and Yangpyeong built those big pyeongsangs, the big patty, like kind of decks, floating Asian decks, or you know, that you can sit on. So they will be obviously not. They won't be have to. They'll take a break today. But the smaller kids and our oldest son will be leading that today and making smaller benches around the fireplaces and around the property, so people can sit down and commune while they're at the palace. And because we make our children do physical labor, because we make them use their bodies to do dangerous, rigorous, hard training with combat martial arts as part of their peacefully militia responsibility for society, because they grow up in a household where that is a normal thing. When I told them this morning in Hundoke, okay, we're going to be building benches, everybody, there's no bitching about it. Everybody realizes they have to do it. Everybody realizes that video games and playing games is a luxury. It's not something you deserve. It's not your right. You reside in a place which is safe and secure, and you don't just have a right to just play video games and watch TV all day long, like these arrogant, spoiled children. A lot of Westerners spoil their children too, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Just spoil the crap out of them. And then they realize, and then their kids become little demons who torment them the rest of their lives. And they wonder why these kids like that. Or they think it's a teenage years. No, it's not the teenage years. There's nothing to do with that. It's because you spoiled the crap out of them. You didn't make them do physical labor. You didn't make them realize that it's expected of anybody to work and contribute to the household. When they first started, they bitch and complain about it. You didn't sit down with them and talk to them, explain to them, to be self-reflective. And, oh, do you notice that you're bitching and complaining about it? Do you notice that this work is not actually that difficult, but you're complaining about it and you're not being able to be self-reflexive? And allow them to have the reflexivity. And then as they keep doing it and as they keep working and as they realize their reflexivity, they realize how to tolerate and how to do work well. And that, of course, then becomes an asset and a valuable part of their character as they grow up. Because people will say, okay, yeah, you guys are not spoiled little brats, little entitled college graduates. You guys, from a young age, have been working, so you have a good work ethic. You don't come bitch and complain about it. You're willing, you have a good attitude about things. Because your endurance level, your tolerance for work is stronger than the average brain-dead, entitled, spoiled college graduate who just wants to party all day and drink booze. So this ethic, this Christian ethic, this JC ethic, this Christian civilization ethic of no work, no food, is absolutely critical. And it starts really from churches. The churches are teaching that. No work, no food. You have to be working to have food. The Bible says a man who does not, a husband that does not provide for his family, is worse than an unbeliever. So talk about a Christian ethic, my goodness. Telling men you must provide for your family. You can't just be a lazy ashtray bum. You must provide for your family. If you don't, you're worse than an unbeliever. Worse than an unbeliever. Worse than somebody who's going to hell. An unbeliever is going to hell. The Bible says if you don't provide for your family, you're worse than somebody going to hell. That's your value. So talk about an ethic that makes men responsible for their families and have that sense of duty, responsibility. It's a very important ethic. Of course, at the same time, also combining the ethic, which is not taught in the West a lot, is what? Women to respect their husbands and don't bitch and complain about them because they don't fulfill all your feelings and emotions every single day of every moment. Have compassion for him that he's working his ashtray out with physical labor, if he's in that kind of work, all day long to provide for you. Be grateful that he's doing that. Be grateful for your husband. Respect him. That's how you show gratitude. Respect him. When he comes back home, you know, care for him. Right? Women too will get into all sorts of self-victimization. Some will choose to work and say their work is so hard. Some will choose to be homemakers, which is also work, but complain that's so hard. When it's really not. It's not as hard. It's not the hardest job in the world. Because they're told by Oprah every day that being a mom is the hardest job in the world. No, it's not. It's absolutely not the hardest job in the world. Coal mining, breathing sulfuric gases every day, going down and getting blackened with soot and getting lung cancer every day. That's way more dangerous and harder than being a mom, sitting at home, watching TV and Oprah, having hours of time to yourself that you have. Usually these moms even send their kids to daycare. I mean, usually literally watching soap operas in the morning. And then maybe doing a little bit of house cleaning, fixing up some food for your family at night, and then maybe in the morning. Okay, so that is work. Yes, it's true. And nobody should disregard that. And that is work. But it's not the hardest work in the world. It's not comparable to somebody else who has to go put their physical body on the line, like every day, daily. It's certainly not harder than somebody like soldiers that have to go into the battlefield. Absolutely not. Don't be delusional. This is Western society lying to you so you become arrogant and entitled and you disregard the sacrifice that your husband or men have to do. 97% of men do the most dangerous jobs where they lose limbs, they lose arms, they're cutting with saws, they're chainsawing, lumberjacks. I mean, don't be deluded. And this is not an attack on women, it's just reality. If you feel convicted, then you know you've been a culprit of, you've been guilty of this. And it's probably not even your own fault, you've just been you've been a victim of this culture that is brainwashing you to believe that your work is the hardest thing. It's not. You always got to keep it in context. So men have a very strong pressure from God to produce for their families and to take care of their families. And if they don't, they're worse than someone going to hell. Women also, you also need pressure too. You are not exempt from that. And women also have the pressure of respecting their husband unconditionally. Of course, husband loving their wife unconditionally, being patient with them. Just because you provide for everyone doesn't mean you can just abuse your family. Okay, that's not the godly ideal. Okay, we provide for our families, but also we nurture our families. We are the priests, we're the head of the household. We lead our family in prayer. We lead our family in warfare, spiritual warfare. We educate our kids on political Satanism. We do these kind of things to protect them. We talk to them about sex and absolute sex. We don't give that to just talk to your mom about it. No. We have the uncomfortable conversations. We confront them when they're being jerks and ashtrays. Right? Especially as they get bigger. Right? The mom can't do that anymore. Especially big boys, as they get bigger, they won't listen to the mom. You know, unless their mom is very, mature. Like the Queen, for example, when she deals with our sons, she treats them very respectfully, like they're adult men. Of course, she plays around with them because they're her children too, but stuff like that, and has fun, good time. But she treats, when she wants to address something, she does it very respectfully. What does that mean? What does that mean practically? She sets a time, 20 minutes, and she sets an appointment with the children. I need to speak to you for 20 minutes. Is tomorrow 6 o'clock okay? You see that? She'll do this, not only with me, she'll do that with the children. And in order to do that, she'll prepare for that meeting. She'll prepare for it. Sometimes she'll even make a PowerPoint. You see that? I mean, the thing about the moms, in terms of moms, who does that? She's showing a real godly respect for her sons. And you got all these moms that, come on, do moms have to do that? Come on. You say, no. We're not saying everybody has to do that. Otherwise you go to hell. But we're saying if you do that, you're going to get blessed. You're going to get a great blessing because you're going to be thinking about what you're meeting with your son that you want to talk about. You're not going to be emotional about it and start talking about all some stupid tangent stuff which is not related, and then drive the conversation to 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, which will drive him nuts and just make him feel that you just hate him completely. Meanwhile, you don't feel that because you're a girl and you want to emotionalize, you want to talk about your emotions through your emotions, but he doesn't interpret things like that. You're telling him for 2 hours that you hate him, I don't accept it, I don't accept it, I don't approve of it, I don't approve of it, I don't acknowledge it, I don't acknowledge it. Even though that's not what your intention is, but that's the problem with following your feelings. You communicate your wrong message. So when you communicate with your sons, you must keep your promise. You said 20 minutes, you know what the Queen does? She sets her time clock to 20 minutes, shows her son, puts the time clock on in front of them so they can both see the time clock. And then it rings at 20 minutes, and then she stops. You know where she learned that? From her martial arts master instructor, the King. Not because I forced her to do that. I explained this to her. Explained this is the effective way to deal with boys and young men and men. She actually prepared a PowerPoint presentation talking with our son one time because he was out having trouble with somebody else, getting in kind of fights with them. So she actually presented a PowerPoint presentation breaking down the pros and cons of that type of strategy, that type of decision. You see what I'm saying? That's high level stuff, man. That's high level. She's not trying to beat them in submission because obviously she can't. They can beat her up. But she's not trying to use me as a weapon to beat them into submission. With these more minor things now, she's at a level where she can handle and manage those things and have leadership over them to teach them through those things. Before she could not. But she's become so much more self-reflective. She's become so much more higher level that she now can train people, right? I mean, this is when you have high-level children, you don't have them just because you have them. There's a lot of investment that goes into it. There's a lot of prayer and a lot of thought that goes into it. A lot of self-restraint and self-control that is necessary for parents to raise high-level kids, to raise kids who are well-balanced and have a strong work ethic, yet are humble and are strong, but yet are humble people. And it's not like they're perfect or anything, and it's not like they don't occasionally bitch or complain, but they're much more reflexive. They grow in their reflexivity. They're able to see why their daddy and their mommy raises them in such a manner. So many parents just irresponsibly just spoil the crap out of their kids, and you destroy their lives. They destroy their lives. Their whole life they're just vindictive, vengeful, angry, failures. because you did not train them to be responsible and accountable, to beat out the wimpiness and the laziness out of them. So that they can you didn't build up their tolerance and endurance towards hard labor and work, which then becomes a great insurance plan, because if they can't find any work, at least they can find some labor work. You see? People really do not, they really devalue, especially these, more suburban families, and they made their wealth through being a lawyer or whatever, just intellectual stuff. So they really devalue labor and laborers, because they just hire them. It's so important to have children learn labor, physical labor. Now in the future they can become lawyers and doctors. Okay, that's fine. They can be more cerebral if they want. But from a young age, they should learn how to do physical labor. That builds your endurance and tolerance towards pain, and you have to always have pleasure to work. No, you don't. Teach you how to work through crap. You don't want to do it, but you do it. And of course, if you're in Peace Believe Peace Militia, it will only make you stronger for your training. A lot of MMA fighters do construction work on the side because it actually, like lifting weights all day, makes them stronger for actual fighting. Okay. So this Christian ethic of working for food, even if you're in a church, even if you're a non-profit organization, you work for food. Vince Benedito was talking about yesterday, after the broadcast, that Madison talked about you only have a limited amount of time in this world, and your time is a part of your person. Okay, what you choose to do with your time, or an hour of your time, is yours.
He said it was your property.
It's your property. I'm sorry, your property. Yeah, it's your property. So if you use an hour of your time, you only have limited time on earth. If you use an hour of your time to be productive and make, for example, money, what gives the right of a government to come in and take your property, which was your time, and the proud produce of that time? What gives them the right to come in and take it from you? It's immoral. It's an immoral act. You're taking from people's property because you're taking from their time. You're stealing from the time and the produce of that time that they invested with a limited amount of time on this earth.
That's why the income tax is immoral.
And that's why Vince was saying, yes, the income tax is immoral. That was a very beautiful breakdown, wasn't it?
Yes. That's why the Chinese Constitution has no income tax.
That is exactly, and it was amazing to be able to share. We shared maybe almost all the points of the Chinese Constitution with Vince over breakfast.
Yes.
It was very interesting.
And one other thing he says is that the total revenue of the government should be limited to 10%, he said.
And it was like, oh, that sounds familiar.
That sounds familiar.
So you got to take a look at this Constitution.
Here it is.
And it was so easy. I found it very easy to just explain to him. I don't know, the Holy Ghost just inspired me to explain, hey, my father at the end of his life, this is how I explain it, my father at the end of life was trying to create a sovereign nation. Whether it be in Paraguay or in Mongolia or in Pacific, South Asia, whatever, an island. Because he had seen the ravages of communism and how even Vince had to admit that American democracy is not permanent. That he also believes that it's in the end it's going to become Marxist.
Yes.
And so it's not impervious to that. And so I was making the point that Father also saw that and realized that it was essential to have sovereignty.
Yes.
And that was a very easy way to explain why we have a constitution, why we, one day may have a nation. It was a very easy and natural way in that conversation with somebody who's not part of our community to just explain why we have a constitution.
Yeah.
And
he understood the principles of the Chinese Constitution without ever having read it.
oh, he understood it. He absolutely understood it. He knew that we're not building a totalitarian monarchy.
Yes.
But this is a totally different society. And we went through all the points: the right to bear arms, freedom of right to bear, private property, free markets, divine rights. Of kings to the citizens. He understood all that, and then we went into even more detail with 10% of GDP cap on government, and etc. So it was a phenomenal deepening, I think, of our friendship and our understanding of one another, etc. There's so many people prepared by God who are ready and willing to understand the kingdom, and whose hearts and spirits yearn for the kingdom. But of course, in that kingdom, it's whenever we say freedom, responsibility, that's what it means, responsibility. We are responsible. We're responsible to take care of our families. We're responsible to love our wife. We're responsible to respect our husband. We're responsible to our community, to protect our community with Peace, Police, Militia, and be the law enforcement and military. It is a place of responsibility, but at the same time, it's a place of tremendous freedom. Tremendous freedom. So there's tremendous opportunity as well. When the water level rises, all boats rise. Big boats, small boats, all boats rise. Doesn't mean that everybody will have the same income or wealth. No. That will depend on how well you serve your customers, how well you serve people, how well you live for the sake of others will be how rich you become. How well you can partner with other people who can also live for the sake of others and make good, happy customers. You will be blessed that way. So you will go as far as your skills and your team can take you. But in Chuniguk, no one has to be jealous of other people, because everybody will have the opportunities. Everybody will have responsibility to care and love their nation, their family, and their country, and their community. Don't spoil your children. Make them do labor and work. Teach them from a young age. That is critical, it's essential, that they learn how to work. Right? They learn how to do physical labor. And especially if they're around the house, well, understand, teach them. No, you think you're not being paid, you're already being paid. You get to live in a safe and secure home, where your dad has guns to protect you, and then he's doing security vigils at night. You get to live in a secure home. If you go out in the world and you have to do that yourself, you have to pay rent, you have to pay utilities, you have to pay mortgages, you have to pay food bills, all that you get for free. So you have to be doing some work to help the family economics. You have to teach your kids this. You have to tell, they don't know this by osmosis. Many times they're a victim of very dumb parents who are, in other aspects of life, responsible, but then they don't extend and teach that responsibility to their kids. And then they wonder why they become demons. Or arrogant, narcissistic, complaining, selfish, vengeful demons. Because kids want to be empowered. Kids want to be given the leg up. Kids want to be in a position for victory. Anybody does. And if you're a parent that's not positioning them for victory and allowing them to be lazy bums just playing video games all day, you're not positioning them for victory. You're not positioning them for success. And every job they do, they're going to fail at. Or they're going to have to go through the hard process of being fired over and over and over again. And as long as they have the endurance and to push through it, they're going to be successful at some point. But they're going to hate you for not raising them to learn those values earlier, while their competitors had those values already. So you have to teach them early. You can't coddle your children. You have to make them tough. They have to be trained in combat martial arts for a Peace, Police, Militia as their responsibility towards the nation and for the neighbor. They have to be learning how to do labor at home in exchange for having a safe environment, in exchange for having food. Realize that this stuff doesn't come free. Their parents, you as a parents are working for that. And they have to participate in the family economics to help that. And of course you have to make them realize that, hey, you're getting more than a fair deal. Because if you have to pay for this, you'd have to pay your dad and mom $1,000 at least a month. And do you know how much it takes, how much work it takes to make $1,000? Okay, here you go, mow the lawn for 5 hours and we'll give you $5. And then you'll get a picture of how much you should be working to pay us. But since we're compassionate parents, you don't have to pay us the whole, we're not telling you to pay us that rent now when you're young. But if you, after you get married and you still want to live with your parents, if they have a big property, you have to pay rent. You have to contribute as an adult to the family economics. You can't just live, it's not socialism. Socialism breeds evil and wickedness and devilish people who don't know how to get down and dirty. The Bible ethic right here in 2 Thessalonians, right here. 2 Thessalonians, right here. This is one of the important, critical foundations, not only for church community, but for a nation's community. And that's what we call, of course, the Protestant work ethic, the Christian work ethic. No work, no food. That's simple. Build that into your children. Build that into the young people. Push out the wimpiness and laziness at an early age. So they know that work is meaningful, work is beneficial, work contributes to human flourishing, work contributes to serving others, and you can get paid for it too. And have your own sovereignty one day. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
There is a river where goodness flows. There is a fountain that draws.
Hi guys, I'm down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. Oh, that's perfect. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range. That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's see with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 15, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungji Sean Moon, the second king of Cheonilguk. And now, getting to our headline news for the day. We'll be joined on the third hour by a special guest to be announced very, very soon. But there's a hint. His name starts with an L. Let's go to drudgeport.com this morning. Top news with a picture of Kim Jong-un. Doomsday canceled. North Korea calls off Guam. Can you pull that article up, Tim, from the Wall Street Journal? Let's go to now Tim Elder for the breakdown and report from the Wall Street Journal. Tim.
So I don't know if Doomsday's actually been canceled forever, but anyway, at least today we're okay.
Today we're good.
We're good today. It looks like North Korea backs off Guam missile attack
Drudge is trying to
threat.
stay positive.
Yes, he's trying to give us some good news for a change out of North Korea. North Korea backs off Guam missile attack threat, says the Wall Street Journal this morning. Kim Jong-un warns he could change his mind if the U.S. persists in extremely dangerous, reckless actions. Coming out of Seoul, North Korean leader, articles coming out of Seoul. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has decided not to launch a threatened missile attack on Guam, Pyongyang state media reported on Tuesday, but warned that he could change his mind if the Yankees persist in their extremely dangerous, reckless actions. Oh, them Yankees, yeah. Got to watch them out for them. The report published early Tuesday could help dial back tensions that had spiraled last week following an exchange of threats between North Korea and U.S. President Donald Trump. So it sounds like Kim Jong-un is blinking, right? Mr. Trump warned Pyongyang last week that the U.S. military was locked and loaded and could engulf North Korea in fire and fury, while North Korea, through its state media, had threatened to fire 4 missiles in a bid to surround the U.S. territory of Guam in enveloping fire. North Korean state media said in its report Tuesday that Mr. Kim had made his decision not to fire on Guam after visiting a military command post and examining a military plan presented to him by his senior officers. While Mr. Kim said he had decided not to launch the attack on Guam yet, he advised the U.S. to take into full account whether the current standoff was to its benefit. He also said it was incumbent on the United States to stop at once arrogant provocations against the DPRK and unilateral demands and not provoke it any longer, using an abbreviation for the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. If the Yankees persist in their extremely dangerous, reckless actions on the Korean Peninsula and its vicinity, testing the self-restraint of the DPRK, the North will make an important decision, as it already declared, the report quoting Mr. Kim said. Mr. Kim added that that the planned launch could still be carried out at any moment, and said that such a strike would be a, quote, most delightful historic moment that would, quote, ring the windpipes of the Yankees and point daggers at their necks. Ring the windpipes of the Yankees. They have very creative writers there. In Guam, authorities welcomed the apparent lifting of the missile threat from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Quote, we are happy that the rhetoric has calmed down, that he won't be pursuing his threats to fire missiles at Guam, said Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio. The comments allay some of the concerns and fears. The U.S. military in Guam would maintain a high level of readiness to respond to any threat, said Greg Kunsk, Deputy Public Affairs Officer for Joint Region Marianas. Guam is home to 2 major U.S. military bases. The island is situated roughly 3,800 miles west of Hawaii and 2,100 miles south-southeast of Pyongyang. So that's the Wall Street Journal this morning, quoting the North Korean media, that Kim Jong-un has decided not to attack, at least not today. But you know, on the Korean Peninsula, nothing is ever as it seems. That is the one absolute thing that you can say about Korea. So I don't know what is going on here. So what happened here? Did the Chinese get to him? Did some of his own people get to him, saying, you know, we're gonna have to cool down because something might actually happen, and we don't mind all the bluster and the saber rattling, but we don't want to actually have to fight the United States because if they'll just wipe us out. Is that what happened? I don't know what happened. It's uncharacteristic of Kim Jong-un to take a step back like this. And yesterday evening, the headline was that we don't know where Kim Jong-un is. He hasn't been seen in a while. Maybe he's hiding in preparation for a actual attack. Then suddenly this morning we see that he's actually taking a step back. Did someone give him some new medication? I don't know. Well, let's stay tuned and see what happens.
We'll have to see. Now he says if the U.S. persists in extremely dangerous, reckless actions, who's doing the reckless actions?
He's going to ring our windpipes.
And daggers stab our necks.
Yes.
Who is doing the reckless, who's shooting ICBM missiles into other people's oceans?
Yes.
Talking about reckless actions, who the heck is doing nuclear bomb testing and shooting missiles up into the air to land in the Sea of Japan?
Let's remember that there are Russian scientists or former Soviet scientists who are in North Korea now helping to develop these missiles, and also China provided a lot of the help. Of course, the Clintons also did their part. So a lot of people have to take responsibility for this. If something happens, there's going to be a lot of blame to be going around.
Yeah, and of course, Russia's not ready for World War III. China doesn't want to go to World War III. I mean, China's been ramping up their military, etc., but Russia certainly doesn't want World War III. I mean, they're like 13th economy in the world. They're trying to just get out of the whole hellhole that the Lenin collapsed economy that they were in for the last 7 years. They're just trying to get out of that without letting radical Islam take over, or the leftist UN agenda and all the globalists like, Soros come in and implode their economy. They don't want that. They're just trying to stabilize their own economy and their own nation. They don't want a war with America and China over this tiny little country with this crazy shooting ICBMs into the oceans. Who's reckless? Give me a break. Boy, oh boy. Just insanity every day coming out of that region.
Well, I think Trump's rhetoric succeeded.
He did speak.
Yeah.
He brought it up. He brought it up big time.
Yeah, I think
fire and fury.
I think
locked and loaded.
He got the Chinese scared enough that they actually made a call and said, "Knock it off."
And sanctions on China apparently will begin Monday. Is that correct? I saw an article on that.
Trump was going to order the start of an investigation to see whether U.S. Companies were being harmed. So it's kind of a very slow beginning towards sanctions. I don't know if that actually happened yesterday. That was being reported over the weekend.
So Trump, of course, trying to just stay alive. He's got so many things to deal with. He's got so many international dangers going around. In the news again today, also Iran is creating all sorts of stirring. Iran right here, let's take a look at that now. Iran sending warships to the Atlantic Ocean amid massive new military buildup. Iran boosts war spending by $500 million after the U.S. issues sanctions. Iran is preparing to send a flotilla of warships into the Atlantic Ocean following the announcement of a massive $500 million investment in war spending. According to Iranian leaders who say the military moves are a response into recent efforts by the United States to impose a package of new economic sanctions on Tehran. The military investment and buildup comes following weeks of tense interactions between Iran and the United States in regional waters, where Iranian military ships have carried out a series of dangerous maneuvers near U.S. vessels. The interactions have roiled U.S. military leaders and prompted tough talk from the Trump administration, which is currently examining potential ways to leave the landmark nuclear deal. Iran's increasingly hostile behavior also follows a little notice United Nations report disclosing that Iran has repeatedly violated international accords banning ballistic missile work. Lawmakers in the U.S. Congress and some policy experts also believe that Iran has been violating some provisions in the nuclear agreement governing related nuclear materials. Nuclear-related materials. With tensions over sanctions and Iran's compliance with the nuclear agreement growing, Iranian parliamentary members voted to increase war spending by more than $500 million. That is at least the second recent cash influx to Iran's military since the landmark nuclear deal that unfroze billions in Iranian assets and saw the U.S. awarding Tehran millions in cash by the Obama administration. Iranian lawmakers reportedly shouted death to America as they passed the measure, which boosts spending to Iran's contested missile program by about $260 million. The bill also imposes sanctions on U.S. military officials in the region. Additionally, Iranian officials are moving to set up courts to prosecute the U.S. for the recent sanctions, which Iran claims are in violation of the nuclear deal. Because Obama sent them billions of dollars of cash. I mean, this guy, it's just unbelievable what Obama, how much of a destroyer he was.
Meanwhile,
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
are you finished with that? I have a related article in worldtribune.com.
Oh, good. Hold on. Let's finish
Okay,
this article.
all right.
And then we'll go right to you
Okay.
for that article. Meanwhile, following several aggressive encounters with the U.S. military vessels in the Persian Gulf, Iranian military leaders announced that they would be leading a flotilla of warships into the Atlantic Ocean. No military official in the world thought that we could go around Africa to the Atlantic Ocean through the Suez Canal, but we did it as we have declared that we would go to the Atlantic and its western waters. Iranian Navy Commander Rear Admiral Habibullah Sayari was quoted as saying over the weekend, "We move to the Atlantic and we'll go to its western waters in the near future," Sayari said. U.S. military officials reported Monday yet another unsafe encounter with an Iranian drone that was shattering a U.S. carrier in the Persian Gulf region and reportedly came close enough to an American F-18 jet to risk the pilot's life. As with other similar encounters during the past month, the Iranian craft did not respond to repeated radio calls by the United States. While the drone is said to have been unarmed, it is capable of carrying missiles. Iranian leaders have been adamant that the country will not halt its work on ballistic missile technology, which could be used to carry nuclear weapons. The U.S. has issued several new packages of sanctions as a result of this behavior, but UN members have yet to address the issue despite recent reporting that found Iran is violating international accords barring such behavior. Little noticed biannual reporting by the UN Secretary General alleges that Iran is repeatedly violating these non-nuclear provisions. Iran Watch, a nuclear watchdog group, reported on Monday. Thus far, the U.S. has responded to such violations with sanctions and designations of Iranian and foreign entities supporting Tehran's ballistic missile development, the organization found. However, the UN and its member states have not responded. More must be done to investigate allegations of noncompliance and to punish violations of the resolution. Because the UN is always protecting these dictators! Republican Sean Duffy, a proponent of the more forceful policy on Iranian intransigence, is in the region, told the Free Beacon that, is that the Washington Free Beacon? That must be the Free Beacon. That the Trump administration must make it a priority to address Tehran's increasingly bold military activity. Iran was emboldened to flex its military muscle after 8 years of President Obama's passivity and his delivery of cold, hard cash to the regime. But they can make no mistake, President Trump was elected to put a stop to rogue regimes pushing America around. And the American people know he will address the world's lead sponsor of terrorism with resolve, Duffy told the Free Beacon. Michael Rubin, a former Pentagon advisor and expert on rogue regimes, said that Iran's recent behavior shows the regime has not moderated since the nuclear deal was implemented. The Obama administration sold the deal in part on promises that it could help bring Tehran into community with nations. Yes, we would like you to do what we say, and please stop your weapons, and we'll just give you billions of dollars, okay? We won't give you any punishments or sanctions or any consequences. We'll just give you more money to continue your nuclear arms, your research. Just ridiculous. Every time the Islamic Republic has cash, it chooses guns over butter. Rubin told the Washington Free Beacon what the nuclear deal and subsequent hostage ransom did was fill Iran's coffers, and now we see the result of that. What former President Barack Obama and former Secretary of State John Kerry essentially did was gamble that if they funded a mad scientist lab, the scientists would rather make unicorns rather than nukes, Rubin said. Newsflash for the echo chamber. Iranian reformers are just hardliners who smile more. Neither their basic philosophy nor their commitment to terrorism have changed. There you go. Let's go now to Tim for his breakdown and article. Tim.
In a related story, worldtribune.com has an article quoting the director of Mossad, of Israel's Mossad. That's their secret service. And he gave a briefing to the Israeli cabinet day before yesterday. Iran is primed to fill the void created by the ongoing defeat of Islamic State, ISIS, the director of Israel's Mossad warned. Mossad director Yossi Cohen, in a briefing to Israel's cabinet on August 13th, said Iran is expanding its control in the region and is taking over territory for itself and its proxies in Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen. In places where Iran's presence is limited, Iran is working to fill the void, Cohen said. The regime is displaying its terror proxies throughout the Middle East, he said, dispatching its terror proxies. Tehran also has not abandoned its nuclear aspirations, as the King just mentioned in his article. Cohen said, adding that the nuclear agreement signed between Iran and the world powers has only strengthened Iranian aggression in the Middle East. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Cohen's assessment proves that the agreement between the major world powers and Iran was fundamentally unsound, as he had warned, and noted that Israel is not obligated in any way to the international agreements signed by Iran. Israel will continue to act determinedly and in a variety of ways to defend itself from these threats, Netanyahu said. So where ISIS is going down, Iran is coming up. It's good news, bad news.
Trump is dealing with a lot of scenarios right now. And of course, it's on full steam ahead in terms of his opposition to the global network of wicked elitists from the Bilderberg Group, Davos Group. Everybody in the establishments of the world are trying to take him down, which is a great sign, because you know a man by his enemies, and all the wicked controllers of humanity are against Trump. At the same time, they're trying to start a civil war here in America and implode the economy, blame it on Trump through the Federal Reserve, and of course, at the same time, keep him completely bamboozled by rogue states, rising, increasing military presence, East Asia in tremendous danger, and of course, President Trump smack dab in the middle. You have all the arch nemesis, basically, of the world coming out against him and trying to make him falter. We have to be praying for our president and been praying that God guide him through this very tumultuous field of many, many landmines. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
Hi, welcome to Tommy Gun Warehouse. We have a short video for you this afternoon. We want to show you how to work the action on a P380. This is our very small pocket 380 that it has a very strong spring, to work the slide. And this is because it's a very small gun, and we need to have that extra spring tension to actually make the gun work properly. So today I want to show you how to properly work the action. Ladies sometimes find it very difficult, not to mention some men find it difficult to work the slide. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how to hand a firearm to someone properly. The ejection port should be up, the slide is back, and nothing in the magazine well. Then you take this and you hand it to somebody in this manner. They should then verify that it is empty and nothing in the magazine well. And now what I want to show you is how to work the action on this P380. It's sometimes difficult for men and many times difficult for women, but if you know how, it's not that difficult. So a die is going to start out by facing at a 45-degree angle downrange. The gun is going to be, the axis of the barrel is going to be the same axis as her forearm. She's going to keep it closer to her chest, and then reaching over the top with her weak hand, she's going to make sure that this ejection port is clear, that her hand isn't in the way, because you don't want to have an accidental detonation of a primer and injure your hand. So using the upper body strength, you're going to, just work it together, push and pull at the same time, and lock it back. And it's just that simple. You might not get it the first time, but all it takes is a little practice and learning how to use your muscles, and you'll do just fine. I had started this just a short time ago, and after the third or fourth attempt, she was doing it perfectly. So thanks for listening. Come down and see us at Tommy Gun Warehouse, and we'll show you this P380.
Yes, sir.
.658. 614. 646. 471.
Hello folks, I'm Justin Moon, the president of Kahr Firearms Group, and today I've got the PM40 with TruGlo night sights, and look at that, Magna porting. Look at that porting on that. This is our standard PM40 with the day sights, but now this model with the Magna porting and the TruGlo night sights. What a difference. The 40 caliber PMs have a reputation for being quite a bit of a kicker. They do kick a lot. And so we put the Magna porting on these PM40s, and boy, what a difference does that make. It really makes this PM40 shoot a lot softer, reduces the muzzle flip, the recoil comes straight back into you, and becomes a very manageable pistol.
But you hit the mark. To pursue me. I was feeling that breeze, singing like a song through the tall oak trees. was just another summer night. Had to be the last thing on my mind. Yeah, I was all but lost in the moment. I was young and running wide open.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. I'm your host, Hongji Sean Moon, second king of Cheongguk. And getting back to our headline news of today, Iranian president threatens to revitalize nuclear program, according to the AP. In Tehran, Iran's president issued a direct threat to the West on Tuesday, claiming his country is capable of revitalizing its nuclear program within hours and quickly bringing it to even more advanced levels than when Iran reached a deal with world powers that limited its ability to produce nuclear weapons. This, of course, Obama saying, oh, we need to give them more monies, then they will stop their nuclear program. It's like saying, okay, there's these raping marauders that are going to kill us, and if we just give them enough money, they're not going. They say they're not going to come and get us.
They tried that with North Korea as well, $1.3 billion. Look where it got us.
Surrendering to predators always makes it worse.
That was Clinton.
Oh, look, all these wolves and hyenas around us. We just better hurry up and throw them some meat. Okay,
Yes.
so they may eat that meat for a little bit. But do you think they're going to actually turn their backs and go away?
They come back for more.
And when you run out of meat, what you think's going to happen? Hyenas and wolves are going to get hungry. And they're going to say, you know what? That fool who's giving us meat
He's got meat.
is actually meat himself. And they will come and eat you.
Let's have him for dinner.
That's why when hyenas and wolves come, you have to shoot them. Get them away. Of course, that's a imperfect metaphor. I'm not saying we have to just blow up Iran or something like that. But again, giving them just loads of cash and billions of dollars of cash obviously has not helped the situation. Hassan Rouhani's remarks to lawmakers follow the Iranian parliament's move earlier this week to increase spending on the country's ballistic missile program and foreign operations of its paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. The bill and Rouhani's comments are seen as a direct response to the new U.S. legislation earlier this month that imposed mandatory penalties on people involved in Iran's ballistic missile program and anyone who does business with them. The U.S. legislation also applies terrorism sanctions to the Revolutionary Guard and enforces an existing arms embargo. If Washington continues with threats and sanctions against Iran, Rouhani said in Parliament on Tuesday, Tehran could easily restart the nuclear program. In an hour and a day, Iran could return to a more advanced nuclear level than at the beginning of the negotiations that preceded the new 2015 deal. He did not elaborate. Do you see what happens with the UN's agenda of disarmament? All you end up doing is disarming the able side countries, the good countries. And then you get the insano bags who never listen to the rules that you put on them, and they will continue to make the weapons. So effectively, okay, you felt good about it and you've been able to morally posture a little bit that you've helped disarm a couple nations. Okay, but then what happened to the evil nations? the ones who are actually dangerous, a dangerous threat to the world, who actually want to do world domination. What happened to those crazy nations? Oh, whoopsie daisy. They've only increased their nuclear spending and nuclear technology. Like North Korea, of course, who has been expanding it from the point which they received it, which was, of course, Hillary and Bill Clinton, who are the ones who gave them that nuclear technology and shared that nuclear technology. Ridiculous. Tyrants don't follow international rules. In that level of, you can see it, of course, with all the threatening and moral posture, the saber rattling and all that, this boat floating and all this, warship floating. At the highest levels, folks, of negotiation, it's about, I kill you, you kill me, I kill you. At the highest levels of the world, how they communicate with each other is, we have a lot of power to kill you. We have enough power to kill you. You better not mess with us. It's all about force. How much power you got. How much military force you have. And when you disarm good countries, the wolves and predators start laughing at you and saying, great, they're helping us. Because they are helping them. Because they do, the globalists do want them as attack dogs. And the political Satanists want them as always a constant threat looming over humanity. Because that's the way they milk and can steal from the normal taxpayer. They need a constant threat of war to be able to constantly rob you. In an hour and a day, Iran can return to more advanced nuclear levels, etc. The landmark agreement between Iran and world powers 2 years ago capped Iran's uranium enrichment levels in return for the lifting of international sanctions. The US and other world powers fear Iran sought the ability to produce atomic weapons. Iran has long denied that it seeks nuclear arms and says its nuclear programs are only for peaceful purposes. It was not immediately clear what Rouhani was referring to and whether he meant Iran could restart centrifuges enriching uranium to higher and more dangerous levels. He also offered no evidence of Iran's capability to rapidly restart higher enrichment, though Iran still has its stock in centrifuges. Those devices now churn out uranium to low levels that can range from use as reactor fuel and for medical and research purposes, but could produce the much higher levels needed for a nuclear weapon. However, in December, Rouhani ordered up plans on building nuclear powered ships, something that appears to be allowed under the nuclear deal. Rouhani's remarks were likely an attempt to appease hardliners at home who have demanded a tougher stand against the United States, but they are also expected to ratchet up tensions further with the Trump administration. Iran has said that the new sanctions, U.S. sanctions, amount to a hostile breach of the 2015 nuclear deal. The U.S. has shown that it's neither a good partner nor a trustable negotiator, Rouhani added. Those who are trying to go back to the language of threats and sanctions are prisoners of the past hallucinations that deprive themselves of the advantages of peace. Rouhani has also tempered his own threat, adding that Iran seeks to remain loyal to its commitments under the nuclear deal, which open a path of cooperation and confidence building with the world. The deal was a model of the victory of peace and diplomacy over war and unilateralism, said Rouhani. It was Iran's preference, but it was not and will not remain Iran's only option. Of course, this is coming from a nation that calls America the greatest Satan on the earth. In other news, Trump seriously considering a pardon for ex-Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Absolutely. President Trump may soon issue a pardon for Joe Arpaio. That would be great. The colorful former Arizona sheriff who was found guilty 2 weeks ago of criminal contempt for defying a state judge's order to stop traffic patrols targeting suspected undocumented immigrants. In his 5 years as Maricopa County Sheriff, Arpaio has emerged as a leading opponent of illegal immigration. I'm seriously considering a pardon for Sheriff Arpaio, the president said. Sunday during a conversation with Fox News at his club in Bedminster, New Jersey. He has done a lot in the fight against illegal immigration. He's a great American patriot, and I hate to see what has happened to him. But that's great. That's fantastic. The liberal lunatic left is trying to imprison an 85-year-old man, former sheriff, who is one of the only ones who stood up to the bullying of the federal beast that was Obama's administration and the deep state. Trump said he could pardon, said that the pardon could happen in the next few days, should he decide to do so. Arpaio was convicted by U.S. District Judge Susan Bolton on misdemeanor contempt of court for willingly disregarding Arizona's judge order in 2011 to stop anti-immigration traffic patrols. Arpaio had maintained law enforcement patrols for 17 months thereafter. So they're trying to say, hey, we're going to get you, we're going to punish you because you didn't obey King Obama. Even though Trump is the new king. We're coming after you. We're vengeful, vindictive, and we are coming after you because you didn't do what Obama wanted you to do, which was allow illegal immigration. He's the only one on the border, basically, who was saying, hey, this border is wide open. He was raising an alarm with alternative news, admitting the fact and showing the actual video that this border is wide open. People can pour in. There's no checks. There's no way they're able to secure that border with what they're doing. That was the reality. And it is absolutely essential that Trump works to pardon Arpaio, for he is one of the remaining patriots, even though he's 85 years old, a tremendous warrior, a tremendous patriot, who's standing up for sovereignty and saying, hey, we have to be about a country about a rule of laws, okay? Rule of law, okay? We can't just have everybody breaking the law and then just giving them free things for breaking the law. We have people that are actually waiting online from different countries who are going through the actual procedure of becoming a legal immigrant, and we want to help them first because they've been waiting. We don't want to help MS-13 gang members pour over the country, pour in through, or ISIS members pour over through the border of Mexico. We don't want that. We want to help these people who are legally trying to immigrate and help them to quickly process, their papers so they can quickly get immigration, legal immigration, which they've been waiting decades to do. It's not fair to have people just cut the line illegally, and then be given every manner of benefit of being in the United States. And even more than a normal United States citizen. Talk about a non-touchable class that they were trying to make, because the liberal lunatics know that that would be a huge voting bloc. If they could pour in millions over the border, they would have a huge voting bloc that would continuously vote Democrat as long as they give them $200, $300 a month. Stolen from the middle class, stolen from the hardworking producers in farmlands and different places of the country. The politicians never pay for these people. The politicians never take them in. The politicians, where's Nancy Pelosi and her $1 million mansions? Where has she brought in one illegal immigrant to live with her? Or a Syrian refugee? Or a Somali refugee? Hey, where's her Somali refugees?
She loves them Somalis.
In her house. I thought, she loves her Somalis. She loves her Muslims. Oh, they're so good. Oh, they're so sweet. The man who built a controversial national reputation as America's toughest sheriff admitted he prolonged his patrols, but insisted he did not intend to break the law because one of his former attorneys did not explain to him the full measure of restrictions contained in the court order. He's expected to be sentenced on October 5th and could face up to 6 months in jail. However, since he's 85 years old and has no prior convictions, some attorneys doubt he'll receive any jail time. Trump has to hurry up and just pardon him, and of course, pardon the Bundys, who are also being held hostage, political hostage for years now, because they dared to challenge the federal government and stand up for the rights of property that they've had on their land for the last 200 years. They're like 8th generation Americans. It's like ridiculous. The New York Times reports Bannon in limbo as Trump faces growing calls for the strategist's ouster, We'll be right back after this break with more from that news. We'll be right back.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Chaniguk. And back to this New York Times article, Rupert Murdoch has repeatedly urged President Trump to fire him. Anthony Scaramucci, the president's former communications director, thrashed him on television as a white nationalist. Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, the leaker, who communicates daily with George Soros, by the way, that's confirmed by Israeli intelligence. The National Security Advisor refused to even say he could work with him. Of course, because they are part of globalism and they're part of the UN World Agenda and they're friends with the Bilderberg Group and they report to George Soros receiving funding from him. McMaster working for George Soros funded nonprofit organizations. These people are out to participate in treason and open sedition against the President of the United States duly elected. They are the clear and present danger. They do not represent the population that voted for Trump. Steve Bannon been called a white nationalist because they're trying to conflate being a white nationalist with being a white supremacist, which is totally different. One is somebody who is saying, I don't want globalism, I don't want unfair trade, I don't want our economy to be imploded, I don't want us to be deindustrialized, I don't want us to be able to be slaves to China, I don't want us to be sold to the big banks so they can rule over us. I want our nation to have its own sovereignty. That's what a nationalist means. And the fact that he's white has nothing to do with the fact that he's nationalist. So you could have a black nationalist. You could have an Asian nationalist who doesn't agree with globalism. Because globalism means UN world trade. Globalism means world government. Globalism means world communism. Where the super elite Bilderberg Group and Davos Group and Rothschild Group and George Soros get to sit on top of everybody and boss everybody around from Brussels or Switzerland saying what we can and cannot do and whether or not we can cut a tree down in Pennsylvania backwoods. More and more regulation, more and more bureaucracy, more and more government intervention, more and more regulatory bodies, more and more rules, more and more laws, everything to destroy competition, everything to destroy the middle class, everything to destroy small and medium-sized businesses, everything to support monopolies, everything to support bureaucrats and corruption and collusion, everything to support political Satanism. This is in the spirit of Satan, the spirit of the archangel, the spirit of the demons. We fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. Wickedness. Spiritual wickedness in high places. These mob cartels and international crime syndicates are not only run by individuals who are pedophiles and pedophile rings and Satanists who actually do satanic rituals, like Jimmy Savile of the UK and, what was his name? Edward Heath, who literally does killing children, necrophilia, and raping them. What do you think? What kind of spiritual force do you think is behind these demons? His name is Satan. His name is Lucifer. So when you say you are a nationalist, you're saying, I don't want to buy into that. I don't want to be put under the foot of those kind of bodies, people, and of course Satan. We want our nation to be free from that. We want a nation to be able to decide for its own what it wants to do with this nation. Hence the word nationalist. So they call him a white nationalist because he's a nationalist, meaning he wants a nation to have sovereignty, and the fact that he happens to be white. And they want to conflate that with the word white supremacist, who is actually a racist. They want to say if you're a nationalist, you are a white supremacist, which is not true at all. Bannon doesn't want only white people living in America. Bannon doesn't only want the Ku Klux Klan to be successful. He's openly against the Ku Klux Klan. The alternative media, like InfoWars and Alex Jones, have protested personally the Ku Klux Klan for the last 19 years. If you say you're a nationalist who doesn't want other civilizations coming into your country that are incompatible, like radical Islam, it doesn't mean you're racist against Muslims. It means you understand the reality that civilizations will clash and that they're incompatible with one another. Marrying a 6-year-old girl is incompatible with basic Western culture and Christian culture. Having sex with a 9-year-old girl and saying that's your favorite wife is incompatible with Christian culture. Do you understand that? Conquering people and taking sex slaves as women, including your 4 wives, is incompatible with Christian culture. Treating women as second-class citizens and being able to beat them at home is incompatible with Christian ethics. Do you see? There are certain things that are incompatible with Christian ethics. Now, most nationalists want to bring in, obviously, immigration. They want people from different countries, the educated, the bright, the smart, the ones who are up and coming. They want to bring them in, scout them in. And they don't necessarily care about what religion is as long as they're not hostile towards people. As President Trump always says, if you're going to come into this country, you're going to love our people. If you don't love our people and you want to harm our people, you're not coming in. That's not mean, that's common sense. Would you bring all these leftist lunatics who say, we have to let them pour in. Let them pour into your freaking house first. Anybody who says that should be sent some migrants from different countries and forced to have them live in their house. Take over half their house. See how happy they are about that? Huh? You really want to do it? You start the trend first. See how well you like that? These people are simply moral posturing, virtue signaling actors guided by the father of all illusion and all lies, which is the reason why they always want to just create more and more centralized bodies, more and more centralized collusion, more and more monopolies, more and more Political Satanism. Steve Bannon is not a racist. They call him an anti-Semite. In Breitbart, his chief editor is a Jew, and they call him an anti-Semite. He doesn't care what skin color you are. People don't care what skin color. They care about what ideology you have. Are you a commie? That's a problem then. Or do you want to come in here to implode the nation and to blow it up and you're a jihadi? Okay, that's a problem. Do you want to help people, predators, who want to gain political power and become politicians, lie to people, use the force of government, the guns of government, to disarm the public? Meanwhile, use the force of government to steal from everybody who's actually producing, to give it to their friends and bureaucrats and the deep state and all the administrative branch, and give the crumbs to their constituents, who then they say, look how grateful you should be, look how I give you this crumbs. Meanwhile, they're the ones who pocket all the stolen wealth. These kind of demons are incompatible with a free market, with a free culture, and pose an existential threat to the political national security of a nation, because they want to implode it with centralized bodies and communism. They're commies. They're totalitarians. They're guided by the same spirit of Satan and archangelism, which was the sin of Lucifer from the very beginning. God didn't give it to Lucifer. God didn't bequeath the world to Lucifer. He bequeathed it to his sons and his children, his daughters. The people, not the archangel. The archangel was to be the servant, not the master, the servant. Even though he was more powerful, even though he had more, power. Even though he helped create creation with God. God said, nope, you don't get it. You're going to be the servant to my children. But they're so pathetic. But they're running around catching frogs. But they're such losers. I'm so much more powerful. He said, it doesn't matter. They're my children. And they're the ones that's going to rule. So what did Lucifer do? No, I don't like that. I'm going to take 1/3 of the angels of the hosts. I'm going to take 1/3 of the angels, and I'm going to set a rebellion against you, and I'm going to create centralized powers, and I'm going to create dictatorships, and I'm going to create totalitarianism, and I'm going to create communism, and I'm going to create socialism, and I'm going to tear down anything you do, God, because your people are pathetic, and your people are evil, and the people don't deserve to have it. It's the archangels and the tyrants and the centralized powers. We deserve to have it. Give it. Why didn't you give it to the predators? Why didn't you give it to the hyenas? Why did you give it to those stupid, incompetent people? And God said, no. I didn't give it to you. You're not my children. You are my servants. I give the rule and reign of creation to my children, made in my image. That is the invisible cosmic battle that we are fighting this day. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
down here at the range today, I just learned a new technique from the father of the 44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch, I can't breathe, out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range. That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. I'm your host, Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. And we will be joined in the top of the hour with tremendous patriot Lou Jazikoff. Lou's the founder and producer of the WBIG family of publications. He's been active in politics most of his adult life, and the passion to build the WBIG into an independent press organization that is respected for its independent journalism, educating the public on stories and issues often not discussed in today's bias and controlled media. Born in New York City, raised on Long Island, enjoyed a great childhood, being blessed with great parents, brother, sister, two sisters, and close extended family. Attended Fordham University on a full baseball scholarship. Wow, so he was a tremendous athlete as well. Graduating with an accounting degree, and upon graduating Fordham, enjoyed a successful but brief stint in the corporate world before heading out to Montana to do business and start a business out there. Worked in a lumber mill before building a log restaurant, bar, motel, and trailer park outside Yellowstone National Park. He was married and raised two children there in Montana, elected to the school board, and subsequently very active in politics and the liberty movement. After 20 years, Lou returned back to the East, where once again enjoyed a very successful but brief stint in the corporate world for building a transport company in Totowa, New Jersey, with a partner which ultimately employed 50 people. Once again, Lou became active in politics, but this time with the Libertarian Party, ran for New Jersey state representative, then for U.S. Congress in the 8th Congressional District in New Jersey, and subsequently served as state chair for the Libertarian Party of New Jersey for 2 years. Worked on a number of initiatives, including walking across the state of New Jersey in support of medical marijuana, and after his partner's untimely death while in the vehicle transportation business, he moved to northeastern Pennsylvania, where once again became active in politics. Lou worked on a number of campaigns and served once again as chair for the Libertarian Party, but this time in Pennsylvania. served as Bob Barr's Northeast Regional Campaign Director in 2008 and as the New Jersey and Pennsylvania Campaign Directors for 2012 in the Gary Johnson campaign. He's currently elected to serve on the National Libertarian Judicial Committee. His passion today is building the WBIG into an independent press organization that is respected for its independent journalism, educating the public on stories and issues often not discussed in today's bias and control media. He loves life, has 4 grandchildren and 1 on the way, and has traveled North America extensively, going places where few do. As the late John Denver sang, it's been a good life, all in all. It sure has, but there's still much to do. We'll be joined at the top of the hour with Lou Jazikoff, a tremendous Patriot friend and independent radio talk show host and, of course, publisher for the powerful Independent Gazette, very powerful libertarian-based, freedom-based independent newspaper that brings up all the issues that the mainstream media is scared to touch. He will be joining us. Let's get back to this brief article given by the New York Times. Again, the propaganda media. For months, Mr. Trump has considered ousting Stephen Bannon, the White House chief strategist and relentless nationalist who ran the Breitbart website and called it a platform for the alt-right. Mr. Trump has sent Mr. Bannon to a kind of internal exile and has not met face-to-face for more than a week with a man who was once a fixture in the Oval Office, according to aides and friends. So far, Mr. Trump has not been able to follow through. A product of his dislike of confrontation, the bonds of foxhole friendship forged during the 2016 presidential campaign, and concerns about what mischief Mr. Bannon might do once he leaves the protective custody of the West Wing. They're trying to pretend that the president has some follow-up with Bannon. Bannon, oh, here we go. Mr. Bannon consulted with the president repeatedly over the weekend as Mr. Trump struggled to respond to the neo-Nazi rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. This is the endless trope of the mainstream propaganda, lying, fake news media. Destroy Trump at any cost media, as Sean Hannity says. To try to, in the minds and hearts of people who have the internet and access to free information and free ideas, and are not beholden to Dan Rather's or the CBS or NBC or ABC or CNN's nightly news, which of course ratings are plummeting and they're becoming the dinosaur media because nobody watches them unless they're cult members of the liberal lunatic leftist state is God cult. Because everybody knows these are known liars and government agents literally paid and funded by some of the most dangerous criminal crime syndicates in the world, which are foreign, by the way, like George Soros, who's employed over 100 different nations and their economies, ravaging them, promoting Nazism, being a Nazi collaborator himself from the age of 14 to 18, literally selling out his own Jewish people to be sent to concentration camps to be gassed, murdered, and killed. Genocided. This is the type of person that then is funding violent revolutions in different countries for the purpose of what? To create totalitarian regimes, to support the control of the money supply so he can go in there and ravage their resources. And of course, he has his sights on the big prize, which is America. The big trophy, which he wants to mount on the wall, the head of which he wants to mount on the wall. I took down America, he wants to say. With his Emperor Palpatine-like claws and his pot-marked red face. With his wrinkly Emperor Palpatine gaze and lightning shooting from his fingertips. As he funds Linda Sarsour, a radical Islamic terrorist who supports Sharia law and says a woman who was genitally mutilated, his genitals were mutilated as a young child, should have her vagina removed because she exposes radical Islam and the left allying with radical Islam, trying to implode Western civilization, bringing the most antithesis, the most anathema culture to Western civilization, which protects women, which protects children, which has the JC ethic, the Jesus Christ ethic, which doesn't marry 6-year-old girls, which doesn't kill people who leave Christianity, which allows for a tolerant, open society. And they use that openness and tolerance against the Western world and against us to bring in the most anathema cultures. Because they know there will be a clash of civilizations. And they bank on that, and they've been doing that for the last 300 years with divide and conquer strategy. More than that, it's alive since the Roman Empire. It's just classic strategic divide and conquer. Exacerbate the differences, exacerbate the tribalism, exacerbate the dissimilarities, balkanize the people, let them fight with one another, and then swoop in as the savior, the UN savior, Barack Obama the savior, who balkanized and divided this country more than anybody in its history. This is ridiculous. You can't not get outraged and upset. And all they do is try to connect Bannon, who is a real libertarian. He's a true libertarian. He's not a white supremacist. He works with all race, colors, and creeds on Breitbart, or worked with. He was a Hollywood movie producer out in Hollywood. I mean, and they're trying to associate him with neo-Nazi rallies, with their stupid little stage torch events around Robert E. Lee's statue. I mean, come on. We know the Ku Klux Klan was run by the Democratic Party. We know the Ku Klux Klan, the top Grand Dragons were CIA informants. That came out of the 80s and the 90s. We know the white supremacist groups are an arm of the Democratic Party used to terrorize black people and minorities and try to pretend that all white Christians are against them when the normal white Christian doesn't even have a bone of racism in their body. And they're in Charlottesville, where you have a scenario where both groups are made to clash with one another. They're funneled down this little street, and you have Antifa, who is part of the Democratic establishment, who are totally protected. Cops are standing down. Antifa's punching people in the head. Antifa's spraying people, and nobody agrees with what these white supremacist crazy Nazis are saying. But they represent the super, super, super fringe. The people that really supported Trump want prosperity, want the economy to be turned back on, want to stop the deindustrialization, want to stop giving China the kudos, want to stop uranium news with Russia, that Hillary Clinton did, want to stop giving nukes to North Korea, which Bill Clinton did in '97, want not to have civilizations come in that rape children and destroy and rape women, like what's happening with the rape epidemic in Sweden. Normal people of every race, color, and creed just want to get on with their lives, work hard, be prosperous, live well with their families, grow old and see grandchildren. That's what it's all about. And worship God. But you have the archangel continuously trying to come in, balkanize, divide and conquer, continually trying to create strife, continually trying to create race riots, which is open in the WikiLeaks, that Hillary Clinton and John Podesta said we need to do race riots in America and start the race baiting now. Because if Trump wins, it's going to be over for us, and we're going to be prosecuted for all the crimes that they've done. So, of course, when one side starts becoming violent, like Antifa, and is protected, and they're spraying people and hitting women over the head with sticks, and they're punching people for no reason, just walking down the street. I mean, once that happens, you have the other side start fighting back. And when you have that happens, you're going to have more radicalization, as Mike Cernovich was saying yesterday on his YouTube account. It's only going to get worse. You're going to have more and more balkanization, more and more radicalization, more and more violence, more and more civil war. And if we go down that road, we are falling right into the globalist trap, falling right into the political Satanist trap. They want us to be divided along tribalism and pathetic little stupid lines that they've created for us so that we stay in our little ghettos, balkanized, believing in identity politics, believing in race politics, and we don't transcend that with a true JC ethic, Jesus Christ ethic. Love God, love your neighbor. As we saw today in 2 Thessalonians, work hard, love your wife, respect your husband, raise honorable children, create beautiful civilization. Prosperity and blessing will be upon us. No, they don't want that. They want us to be degraded. They want us to have animal-like consciousness. They want us to get us back to our lowest denominator. Tribalism, instinctual fighting, paganism. So that all we're at each other's throats while they're up in George Soros's Wells Fargo's banking 6th floor looking down on us like they did in Charlottesville. That's the mayor, by the way, sitting on the 6th floor of the Wells Fargo building, looking at everybody saying, hey, it's a hockey match down there, haha. And the cops are standing down. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And of course, they're using it to say what? What's their conclusion after Charlottesville? Oh, we have to ban free speech. Oh, we have to ban public assembly. Oh, we have to ban conservatives. All conservatives made this problem. Fox News on all day long saying we have to ban free speech. We have to make more regulations, more restrictions, more laws, and ban this kind of... They're the ones who started this off. They're the ones that protected Antifa. They're the ones that helped them radicalize. And of course, people are going to fight back, and now they're using that again to ban free speech, censor any conservative voices, censor freedom of assembly. This is a dangerous road, folks. We have to be on our knees praying and standing in truth and in the authority of God. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
Firearms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Carr Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology, it's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Carr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry, Carr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Board this Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, second king of Cheongguk, and we are here joined with Lou Jazikoff, tremendous patriot, just the most spirited, has an incredible sense of humor, a man of integrity, character, success, entrepreneurship, you name it, he's done it all. Lou, just give us a brief bio, where God has led you on your journey, and where you are at now. What are you doing now?
Well, Sean, thank you for the kind words for starters. Very nice. But I was born and raised in New York City, and then raised on Long Island. I wound up going to Fordham University. I got my education there with an accounting degree, and I worked briefly in the accounting and corporate world, but it just was not for me. So after actually being very successful in it, I moved to Montana, where we had a restaurant motel outside of Yellowstone Park for about 25 years.
Wow.
And that's where we raised our family. And a lot of those values, you know, living out in a rural area, you get those strong values. And even at that time, I wound up getting more somewhat involved with politics. When you see what's going on that's not fair, that's not right, whatever has driven me in that way, in search of the truth, so to speak. We wound up selling the restaurant and moved to New Jersey, where once again I worked in the corporate world for a little while, extremely successful. Once again, Sean, it was not for me. I wound up getting into the transport business, very successful there. We wound up moving more cars for Ford and Chrysler than any other transporter in the tri-state area. Wow. Unfortunately, I had a partner that there was no set of scales. It was unbelievable, but I found him dead on the floor when he was 33 years old. And here's one of the things, too. When you go through life and you see the things that change, you realize that we're here for but a speck of time, and you should be making or doing the best to make for a better world. So I wound up losing my interest in that a little bit, and my daughter wound up getting into Wilkes University. She wanted to be a pharmacist, so she thought. And we wound up moving back here in Northeast Pennsylvania. So that's how I found my way to Northeast Pennsylvania. Wow. I have traveled extensively, especially in North America, a lot of the byways, backways. And it was during the 2011 Wilkes-Barre mayoral election that I started realizing that the information was just not getting out. No matter what you did, no matter how you wanted to be involved, you just was not getting the information out. And there was also just a little prior to that, I had backed a guy that in New Jersey, and they had a trial program. They called it a fair election, where they were trying to put government money. They had a pilot program where they were putting public money, and they were going to publicly finance the campaigns to get, I guess, corruption out of it. Well, that's an oxymoron in New Jersey, fair and equal election. So what happened was I did work for an independent candidate, and they had a certain criteria to get on the ballot, and which got me even more involved in this whole election process. And what happened there was that you had to collect so many signatures, and as you collect the signatures, you had to get a check with that, which was darn near impossible. If anybody had to go out and collect signatures, they know that if they had to get 800 signatures and then ask for a $10 check on top of it. And for 3 months, every single day I would go out and I knock on doors, and we wound up meeting that criteria. And part of the criteria was to get the funding. Everybody that was involved had to be in debates. They had to have 2 debates. And the long and the short of it was we were in the debates, but the televised debates, we were told there was no room at the table, New Jersey 12. There was no room at the table for the candidate. And the list goes on and on and on. So I wound up starting the Independent Gazette newspaper, which is based in Wilkes-Barre. And it was all investigative journalism. And I got to tell you, the more we started doing it, the more I realized what was the information that was being fed to us was just not being reported in the news. And over the years, I started that 5 years ago. We printed in quite a few locations, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, mostly up in Northeast Pennsylvania, down in Arlington, Virginia, Trenton, New Jersey. But the whole idea of it was in search of the truth. And I had no idea. I really don't have an agenda, and I think that's the big thing. I think what happens is that media today is driven by the dollar. Bertelsmann Institute just came and did a documentary. They're doing a documentary. It's the largest German foundation in Germany, and they were hired by the European parliaments to do a documentary on independent journalism in America. They wound up picking me as one of the people that they did, one of the people that they were going to do some research on. And I told them then it's darn near impossible to have a free and independent press, because once you are tied to the corporate dollar, you're no longer independent. And quite honestly, if you investigate the courts, you're not going to have lawyers and judges supporting you. You go after medical malpractice, there's not going to be any doctors in your newspaper. Yes. You go after police abuse, you're hated universally by everybody. If you go after political corruption, you never know what's going to come your way. And I could tell you stories and stories on what happened in Wilkes-Barre and some of the investigations that we did. And now, even though that we're a small publication, I feel what we do is we're keeping local media honest. And I could tell you stories on how that has evolved.
I mean, weren't you guys breaking the Kids for Cash stories?
We were very much involved. Not
you
just,
guys were in the courtrooms too.
I was thrown out on a weekly basis just for showing up. And what has happened there, and what is very sad about all of that is that I wound up telling people, no, I'm not going to go anymore, because the retribution is real.
Oh yeah, they come over with all the apparatus, don't they?
Well, what happens is that I found what I saw was that families were being broken up through retribution only because we were showing up, Sean. It's a very sad situation. I have a question.
Wow.
Why is it that we don't have cameras in courtrooms? Why is it? This is the halls of justice. This is where justice is supposed to be administered, and we're not allowed to see what's going on.
But meanwhile, they can spy on every American citizen with the NSA.
Yes, absolutely.
Just to let people know what the scandal was, because this was a huge scandal in this area, but people in other areas might not be aware of it. It unfolded in 2008 over judicial kickbacks at the Luzerne County Court of Common Pleas in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. 2 judges were convicted of accepting money from a man who was a builder of 2 for-profit youth centers for the detention of juveniles in return for contracting with the facilities and imposing harsh adjudications on juveniles brought before their courts to increase the number of residents in the centers. So Kids really were being sold for cash.
Kids were being sold for cash, and I'm here to say we were at the tail end of that. What we started looking at is what we dubbed custody for cash, where people are being taken from their homes and put into foster homes, and the huge amount of money that's going, the federal government, the state governments get by taking children and putting them into foster homes.
I mean, they have quotas, don't they, that have to fill?
And there's quotas, and
insane.
I didn't believe this. You see, here's the problem: is that you only get half the story. It's very, very difficult because once you start, you hear one side of the story from individuals, and because you don't get the court side. What happens there is that, you know, they have to protect the kids. And I'm here to say we have precedent. Lawyers love to use the word precedent. Well, we have precedent right here in Northeast Pennsylvania of how the courts did not protect the children with the kids for cash. Yes. I'm going to tell you here now, Sean, that the custody for cash, which is happening not only in Northeast Pennsylvania, in the state of Pennsylvania, around the United States and around the world, once it is broken and once the light is shown on that, it will dwarf kids for cash. It is, wow. It is a travesty of justice, and why people have not stood up or what happens is a lot of times too is that it's so heartbreaking. When I wrote my first story on custody for cash, I could not answer the phone from people around the country calling and thanking me, saying, thank goodness somebody finally has tried to shed light on this. And it's hard to believe from even as an investigative journalist, what happens is you look at this and you hear these stories and then you say, wait a minute, this can't be true. And then it comes one after another, after another, after another. And it just goes on and on. And I got to tell you, Nancy Schaefer was a state senator out of Georgia. And I would encourage people just to Google Nancy Schaefer and Google custody for cash or kids sold for cash. And what she spoke of, she was murdered, by the way. She's no longer with us. But when I saw that video and how she speaks and how you're talking to churches and what she said, God will not stand for this. Once it is revealed on what's going on. And it's terrible. And that's just one little piece of the puzzle of what we've been able to do with true investigative journalism.
When you hear the music, it means that it's about time for a break.
Then there you go.
That's why I want to get your take on President Trump and how he's going after these rings that are abusing children. Over 10,000 arrests since Trump has gone in. He's going after pedophile rings. He's going after people who are abusing children. And in the end, Jesus said, he who harms the least of these should have a millstone around their neck and be tossed into the sea. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
I'm down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. Oh, that's perfect. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch, I can't breathe, out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range. That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. This Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. We're joined with Lou Jazikoff, publisher, independent Gazette and radio talk show host. Wow, just going over so many things during the break. So intense. Lou, of course, being responsible for so many incredible stories that were broken about exposing some of the biggest scandals in not only North Pennsylvania, but around the country. Now, we talked about Syria, we talked about all sorts of things during the break. Syria, we have a situation where we are constantly being driven into war. These rhino Republicans, they drive me more insane than the leftist lunatics sometimes. Because they're driving us into war daily, daily, daily. They just can't stop having it. Senator McCain literally meeting with ISIS saying they're good guys. I mean, we have pictures of him meeting with ISIS saying they're good guys. Obama administration, the U.S. government funding radical ISIS, stopping the destruction of ISIS, allowing them to protect it, allowing them to grow, take over Iraq, take over all of them, just spreading over the Middle East like wildfire. And of course, now into Syria, murdering hundreds of thousands of Christians, raping women, stripping their clothes off and stabbing crucifixes through their hearts, leaving them to bleed to death. And the UN says nothing. Nothing. Because it's the whole anti-Christian crowd. It's the whole, oh, Christianity is the racist, civilization. Oh, Christianity is the one thing, is a civilization that oppresses women, even though it protects women. Even though the abolition of slavery, the abolishment of slavery in the 20th century was led by Christian organizations. Even though the women's emancipation movements in the 20s were all done by Christian women and men supporting them and their husbands supporting them. Because the Christians will stand up against a foreign, radicalized civilization that seeks to destroy goodness and integrity. Because we have the JC ethic, the Jesus Christ ethic. We do not want to see the vulnerable destroyed. We do not want to see those who are poor exploited by hyenas and wolves. We don't want to see cultures that allow grown men to marry 6-year-old girls, or allow a rape culture to pour into Europe and tell German women that they should be grateful and feel empathy for being raped. This is insanity. And at the same time, hundreds of thousands of Christians are dying in Syria, and nobody talks about it, except for real independent journalists out there, real people who risk their lives, put their neck on the line to expose the realities of what people have gone through. Lou, you were in Allentown interviewing some of these Syrian refugees or people who moved from Syria?
That's absolutely
Share that about-
correct.
yeah,
That was
tell
one
us
of
about
the
that.
stories that I'm more proud of, or most proud of, was when the whole Syria was kind of blowing up, and even now, the largest Christian Syrian community in the United States is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I went down, I interviewed Father Anthony, who was a prime source of information for Fox News and for CNN. He no longer does any of those. He told me, he says, Lou, listen, I gave him the proof. I had the documents from the hospitals. I showed him who was gassing our people, and it wasn't Assad, it was the rebels. Now,
Right.
once again, these are the things,
Which we
Sean,
were
that
all-
I started learning too, because this is all a learning process. When I went down there, I didn't realize the largest Christmas celebration in the Middle East was
You see,
Damascus.
Damascus.
The largest Christmas tree. The Christians there told me if it wasn't for Assad, they'd all be gone. They'd be dead. And then you kind of look back, you see, and I don't know what the exact truth is. I don't know all those things because we're basing decisions on information that we don't know it's true. I don't know. All I can say is that my life goal now is to do the investigative journalism. I don't know where it's going to take us. I don't know. And that's the way it should be. Just give me the information. Let me find the information and then base your decisions on proper information.
Well, we do know the U.S. government was arming and training
Well,
Osama bin Laden
right.
in Afghanistan, and the moderate Syrian rebels who now have openly declared they're part of ISIS now. We were arming them and training them under the Obama administration. It's ridiculous. ISIS was growing. I mean, Vladimir Putin, they all say collusion with Putin. Oh, everything's Russia's fault. Oh, we had a milkshake drop, in McDonald's. That's Russia's fault. It's Putin. They had Putin wipe out some of the key strongholds of ISIS within a week. 1 week. 1 week. He was smashing them. And the U.S. couldn't do that?
I always said this. One of the things on our radio show, I talk about, I was talking about ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and you take the government numbers. I think they said 30,000 or whatever. And all you ever see is, what pictures do you ever see? All you see is a couple yahoos in the back of a pickup truck with a couple guns standing in the air. I don't know. I used to say, you know what? You want to get rid of ISIS? Bring them all here to Northeast Pennsylvania. And then, would you see pictures of every man walking across the bridge over to New Jersey? Heck no, you wouldn't see that. You would see people saying, wait a minute, we're not going to allow these animals to be raping our kids and our wives, and they wouldn't last 24 hours. So logically, I look at this and I say, something is not right. There is something, the information that we're receiving cannot possibly be right.
I mean, these are people, they're told they're going to get 72 murders, 72 mansions with 72 naked women waiting for you. And if you die, if you blow yourself up in a bomb. And their whole culture, and even their mom is saying, go off, son, I'm proud of you. I mean, this is total lunacy. They're told also they can go conquer and rape. Because in Islam, and David Wood and Samsa Hood and all the patriots out there, who have exposed them with the Quran and the Hadith, show that is completely legal in a Sharia jurisprudence. If you conquer the nation, to take sex slaves. Muhammad not only had 11 wives, he had sex slaves as well. In the Hadith, he's caught with one of the sex slaves having sex with them, and the other wives that come and say, aren't we enough? We're 11 wives, aren't we enough? Aisha, by the way, who was a 6-year-old girl that he married and was fondling until she was 9, then he had sex with her. This is why it's a totally different civilization. He personally beheaded over 800 Jews when he reconquered Mecca, and all this is exposed. It's not like I'm the expert here on these things, but it's all exposed with real experts like David Wood and Sam Hood. Why are they imploding? Why are they bringing those kind of people in to the country as, quote, refugees and migrants, and not bring people who are more compatible, like Syrian Christians? If you're going to bring in somebody from Syria, the Christians are much more compatible because although we're a secular society, we still have very strong Christian values.
Right.
But you're bringing in something that's antithesis to that, completely opposite. And they want to do what they did to Europe and do it here and disarm the public, take away our guns. Just total martial law.
Well, like I said, at this point, it's very difficult to make decisions based on incorrect information. So with even the Syria story itself, you know, are we getting the right information? When you look at Assad, he's Alawite. He's not, you know, Sunni. He's not Shia. I mean, Alawite were Christians that were forced to be Muslim,
Right.
unless they paid taxes.
The Dhimmi tax.
Yeah. But you know, when you look at all of this, and once again, my life's mission at this point, I think I mentioned to you, my wife died last year, and it's kind of now taken a different turn to where, okay, why am I still here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And it is to hire investigative journalists to get into all of these things. And part of even these smaller publications, it holds feet to the fire to the larger media. I remember doing one story. We did a story on the AP polling. It was right during when they had the sequester. And I'm listening to the news, and it's on all the radio stations, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. According to an AP poll, the Associated Press poll said that if the sequester kicks in, it would be disastrous for the economy. I said, wait a minute, something doesn't seem right here. So I called the AP in New York, and I said, listen, who did your polling? They gave me a guy's name down in Washington, D.C. Bureau. I called down there. I quickly find out he's no longer working there. I tracked down who did the polling. I said, listen, I'm doing an investigative report for the Independent Gazette. I said, I would like to know who you polled, what economists did you poll, and how many. You know what the exact words were? What was it? It wasn't a poll per se. It was a survey of our business writers. That's what was told to me. And here was the poll that was put out across all the media because it's Associated Press.
Oh my Lord, this is
so when you look at these and go,
Told other reporters, business writers.
that is right. They're like sitting around in this room and asking, right? And you
let's
know,
take a poll right now.
take a poll right now.
Did this poll happen to take place in a bar someplace?
I got to tell you. But once you start seeing these things and you're saying what's real, what's not real, everybody, and it was broadcast on all news stations. The Associated Press poll. And I'm
This is
thinking,
why our president says they're the very fake news. Because you literally can't believe anything Anderson Cooper is saying. You can't literally believe anything that these people are saying. They are literally propaganda agents of the federal bureaucracy, of the deep state.
and therein lies the problem. You know, when we look at Kennedy when he was talking to the publishers back in 61. Saying that, you know, the media, publishing, that's the only organization that was protected by the First Amendment. And yet we don't have that. I mean, there was a reason for that. The media is not supposed to be there to get along with government. It's there to enlighten the public. It's there to arouse. It's there to, you know, make people think. And we have lost that. And I think that is the crux of the problem. Matter of fact, I know that's the crux of the problem, is because everything is driven by the corporate dollar. We have a small newspaper. It costs money to print. It costs money to hire people. I get it. You get it. I just put something out. You would eat your bologna sandwich differently if you know you were being photographed and being watched.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
So government needs to be watched, especially with the expanse of government, how big it has gotten. You know, our Constitution calls for a limited government. Our founders call for limited government.
Yes.
We have no more limited government.
Nope.
Because if I could give you everything that you want, that's where the corruption, the nepotism, the cronyism all starts. And then it is the role of the media to look. It's the role of the churches. We go back to the Black Robe Regiment. We did a whole story on that. If it wasn't for the churches, Sean, during the American Revolution, we probably wouldn't have American Revolution.
Oh, that was a great article. Yeah, I remember that. It's a great article.
You know, and those are the things that it's almost like I see our role now as an educational role and also as a role to keep other corporate media or the larger mainstream media, you know, on their toes.
Thank
And I
God.
could go on and on and on with stories. I told you when we were off air about a local television station. We covered the exact same walk. Hundreds of people were at the walk. The video was cut tight. The same little feet were walking. I sent that video to the publisher of the news station. I said, "You're a fraud." I said, "There were 16 people there." I said, this was something that should be good, something to be celebrated. If you're manipulating something so good, what happens when there's real news? And that same TV station who didn't talk to me for years got in touch with me a year or two ago and said, "Listen, we can't break these stories because we will lose advertising dollars, but we can report on it. Will you break it in your newspaper? And then we can report on it." I'm telling you, I can show you news clips.
They know.
Broke by the Independent Gazette. Broke by the Independent Gazette. And thinking, what the heck is going on here?
Because he's a real deal and he's got some cojones.
Well, you know, the FBI did tell me to stay armed because they did call us in with the custody for cash. And they said, "Lou,
they got eyes on you." Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the head of the FBI called me into the office and said, "Listen, I want to sit down and talk with you." And you know what I told him, Sean? I looked him straight in the eye. And I said, "The word on the street is I can't trust you. You convinced me that I could trust you. And then I'll start talking." But at the end of the day, that's what we should all be doing is in search of the truth.
It's okay if government is able to spy on you illegally. It's okay if they're able to record every single phone call you make to your family, friends, and relatives and contacts, etc. It's okay if they steal all your personal information, have all your bank accounts, files online, have everything at the touch of a button, and all your photos, all your camera shots, all your information, all even spying you through your digital devices. But it's not okay if we have cameras in judges' courtrooms. It's not okay if we have cameras in public officials and congressmen and senators' rooms and see who they're talking to and see what kind of meetings they're who they're meeting with. No, that's not okay. That's invasion of privacy. But it's okay if they do it illegally to 320 million people on the face of the planet, because they are the gods. They are the great lords of creation. No, they're not. They are the servants of those who have been inherited the created world from our Creator, and who are given the rights of humanity to have sovereignty, individual freedom, and be accountable for what we say and do. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
Your love is like radiant diamonds bursting inside us.
Oh, 658. $614. All right, $646. This time, $471.
Hello folks, I'm Justin Moon, the president of Carr Firearms Group, and today I've got the PM40 with True Glow night sights, and look at that, Magna porting. Look at that porting on that. This is our standard PM40 with the day sights, but now this model with the Magna porting and the True Glow night sights. What a difference. The .40 caliber PMs have a reputation for being quite a bit of a kicker. They do kick a lot. And so we put the MagnaPorting on these PM40s, and boy, what a difference does that make. It really makes this PM40 shoot a lot softer, reduces the muzzle flip, the recoil comes straight back into you, and becomes a very manageable pistol.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back this Tuesday, August 15, 2017, The King's Report. We're here with Lou Jazikoff, talking about incredible stories that he had to cover and break and how he deals with it, because sometimes it's so hard to look into the eye of the abyss and not become the abyss, like Nietzsche said. But how do you keep looking at this evil? And sometimes it's so debilitating because it's so overwhelming, it's so pervasive, it's so in your face, it's so unstoppable, and you feel so small and helpless. And of course, I know you're made to feel small and helpless and isolated, and you feel like you can't do anything about it. That's what they want you to feel. They don't want you to connect with your real identity as a child of God, to stand up against unrighteousness and evil. How do you, Lou, deal with this when you see the corruption, you see the evil, you see the manifestation of real, like Satanism on this planet, and you have to go headstrong against it? How do you stay focused and clear, Lou?
Well, you're absolutely right, because it can get you down. I've been blessed for whatever reason I'm able to separate a little bit, because I've seen people broken. They break you financially, emotionally, spiritually, and people are just in pieces. I was never part of the courts. I think I want to get that out too. It wasn't like I have an axe to grind. It wasn't like I had something that. But when I started seeing what you said too, and I thought pure evil, and it's driven all by greed. It's all driven by money. And if the only thing that comes out of this particular part of the interview is that why is where justice is administered, we don't have more oversight? People say, well, we can't have cameras in the courtroom because we have to protect the children. I say, have the camera, then at least have it to where there's a black box. I mean, we have black boxes in airplanes and everything else, at least to be able to go back, because the horror stories that I have seen and I have heard coming out of the courtrooms is nothing short of pure evil. And if they're controlled, the lawyers are controlled, the whole industry is controlled through licensing. If you're a whistleblower, you'll either not win another case, or they'll take your license from you.
There you go, the whole licensing system.
And that is when we start talking about that, when we start looking at that. And it goes back to, we barely touched a little bit because time flies by, about competition in politics. When you look at the way the whole system works, when you go to Harrisburg and you see that the people that, that are in charge of the committees, the person that's in charge of the Judicial Committee is Greenleaf. Elliott and Greenleaf is one of the most connected law firms in this state. The majority of his money, huge amounts of money, come from trial lawyers and the Bar Association. How is he representing the people? Who is his allegiance to? Exactly. And that's where the parties all come in, Sean. I mean, it's when you have to almost look at everything in a totalitarian, in total, and say, wait a minute, it's just not this, but it's this, and it's all connected and everything else. But I'm going to continue to go back. Why is there not cameras in courtrooms? Use it as a black box. Nobody is going to go in. As a reporter, I'm not going to go in and expose a young child to the abuses that might have went on. And if I did, I should be prosecuted for that, But I got to tell you what's behind those closed doors that are going on behind closed doors. And once again, precedent with Kids for Cash. This is not like theory here. We know kids were put in jail. They had the Kids for Cash movie, and your audience should know some of these things. One of the ladies that wrote for us, her aunt. I want you to envision this, and we're going to leave your audience with a picture. Just think of your 13-year-old child, 13-year-old girl, getting in an argument at school over a boy and hitting somebody in the back of the head with a volleyball at volleyball court. The next thing you know, she is before the judge, Judge Chivarella, standing there, afraid. Mom and Dad, you're sitting in that courtroom. And that judge looks down and says, I told you if you ever come before me, there's going to be problems. And as you're sitting in that courtroom, she is shackling. Her legs are getting shackled. And her arms are getting shackled. And they took her off to jail. This is not theory. This is not conjecture. For 6 years. 6 years. Another boy got caught with a stolen mini bag. He paid $250 for it. 5.5 years in jail. Another girl had an argument over MySpace, over a boy. You think kids do that these days? I want you to just think about 6 years in jail for that one. And they were getting kickbacks. This is not, once again, this is not theory. This is not conjecture. This is what happened. And there were thousands of kids that this happened to right here in Northeast Pennsylvania. And why it happened is there was no oversight in the courts. And I'm here to tell you, custody for cash, what's happening with CPS and foster homes. Of course there's people that are abused, but I'm telling you, the majority of what's going on is it's driven by greed. I had a guy in the health profession come to me. He says, Lou, I've been sent for 140 drug tests or 136 drug tests. He says, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I passed every one. By the way, the judge's sister owned the drug testing company. The judge tells him, what did she say? I forget the exact words, but she basically said he's a lunatic, that you need to go for psych evaluation, i.e. before you get your kids back. They sent that person to a psychiatrist in Harrisburg. Did I believe any of this? No. I saw the court. I have in my house the letter from the psychiatrist. Before you come see me, you sign over all your HIPAA rights and bring a cashier's check for $10,000. One. Wow. One of bags full of stuff. And this is still happening. We're closing our eyes, and every time I bring it up, and you go to, the attorney generals, you go to the sheriffs, and it's like, they know, people know what's going on. They'll smile at you because they're the pillars of the community. They're the ones that are making huge amounts of money and throw you a donation here and there, and oh, he's a nice guy, or she's a great guy, or all these other things, and yet they're sitting in the courtrooms. And I'll come back to it again. There's no light shine on the evil. Like anything else, you shine light on a cockroach, they're going to spread. What happened to all the lawyers that were part of this whole Kids for Cash? Where did they go? They're still operating. And that's what this is about. That's why we have to, shed light on what's going on, because if we can't have justice in the courts, surely, if everything is based around on who you hire, how much money you spend, who's connected to who, that's not justice, is it? We have the illusion of justice right here in good old America. Right there. And I'm not here to be gloom and doom. What I'm saying is, man, we have a system. We have a good system that could work, but it needs to be watched.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. It is insane. Insane. Oh my goodness. I mean, just the fact that, of course, you had to see it firsthand. You had to go through it. You had to interview the people. But you talk about taking it personal. My goodness, my daughter is 15 years old.
I know. I just think about, and that's why I said that. Can you imagine? Don't bring a lawyer because it's only going to annoy the judge. That's what these parents are told. Don't bring a lawyer to the courtroom. You go there. Can you imagine seeing your child, your 15-year-old child, handcuffed? Mommy, Daddy, what's happening? Crying. The parents are crying. This is what you see.
And be taken for 6 years.
6. This is not, Sean, this is not made up. This is not like this what could happen. This is what happened in Northeast Pennsylvania. And I'll go back to Nancy Schaefer. I encourage folks to just Google her. She was a state senator. Children for Cash.
And she brought it up, and then she was murdered.
State senator.
Wow.
Maybe later on after we're done we could watch that one clip. I guarantee it'll open your eyes and it'll move people in ways that I can't. This is my life's work. For however long the Lord's going to keep me on earth, I have to be able to now go ahead, move ahead, and not be afraid. We're here for but a speck of time.
Well, isn't that the key? See, that's the key. Because they want to make you afraid. They want to make you feel weak. They want to make you feel like you're alone. They want to make you feel like you're a tiny voice. They want to make you feel like you have no power. They want to make you feel like you can't do anything about it, and you just have to accept it. But isn't that what's about? Because that's the spirit of humanity. God said, "I would not give you a spirit of fear." It's a spirit of humanity. Our God is not afraid. And when we set up to evil, yes, we feel isolated. We feel alone. We feel completely targeted. We feel under the totalitarian fist of the autocrats who can come after you. I mean, they come after you bad, can't they? They can come after you real bad. I mean, look at the senator who is no longer with us.
When we did I did a story on two families, the Laytons and another family in Wilkes-Barre, and I called them the kings and queens because they were so related to everything. Every single one of our advertisers was paid a visit by the mayor. In fact, I had a restaurateur call me one day. He says,
Wow.
Lou, the mayor just left. I had 2 questions for me. Why am I advertising in your newspaper? And one was my last inspection. He said, Lou, I can't do it. I'm sorry. I love you, man,
my
but I
goodness.
can't do it.
Wow.
I can't. I mean, it's going to cripple me. And I get it.
I
I
mean,
get human nature.
If it's this bad on the local level, of course we have to fight on the local. Think about what President Trump is going to
Right.
in the deep state with literally millions of bureaucrats surrounding him.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're talking about a deep state with roots like to the pit of hell.
I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing. It's a sad situation.
My
And if
goodness.
it's not, if the swamp is not drained, this might be the one shot.
He's got to go after him. A.G. Sessions been sitting idle, doing nothing. He's like recusing himself from the RussiaGate conspiracies, and then he's not even going after Hillary Clinton, who has the uranium deals, doing the deals with Chi-Com, stealing from Haitian people. I mean, in the WikiLeaks, she's doing spirit cooking and Satan worship.
I could tell you a whole story on that one too.
Trying to start race riots. George Soros is biggest funder. I mean, this is crazy. These are people who are known to implode societies, divide and conquer, create civil wars, and they're trying to do it with Charlottesville. Did you see what's happening now? Yeah. They're trying to start that at Charlottesville, trying to get people into race riots and tribalism, and get us to fight along these crazy lines when everybody's already transcended all this stuff a long time ago.
That's right.
And people just want to move on and live free and have justice in their land. But you can't get it because you got this swamp and this deep state, and you have a CIA that's running the drug trade and is, owns 93% of the poppy seeds. I mean, this is crazy. It's insane. I mean, you talk to somebody who is on a blue pill and doesn't understand what's going on, and they think you're nuts.
The Federal Reserve, all of that stuff, all those things that we know about.
It's ridiculous. It's totally insane. And it does cripple you. Sometimes it does feel like you're crippling. But I think you're absolutely right. You have to take control of local power again. We have to get local justice to get more accountable to the people.
Right.
And if people do that nationwide, start signing up. Like you said, stop getting scared.
Yeah.
Don't have fear. You have to do what's right. I mean, in the end, it's your grandchildren. It's your grandchildren that are going to have to live through this. You know what I mean? What are you going to do 100 years later when grandchildren ask you, what'd you do, Daddy, against the fight?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? In the end, we're all involved in it. You can't run away from it. It may make you feel scary and and fear and feel like you're isolated, but in the end, we're all going to pay for it. Our kids are going to have to live through it. So in the end, we have to fight for something, and we have to, of course, stand up against this type of what I call political Satanism. Right. It sets the table. It sets the political legal infrastructure to allow real Satanism to actually flourish. And I'm talking about killing babies. I'm talking about, you know, where people can get off raping children, all this kind of thing. And it just lets it flourish because it's normalized and it's good and it's okay, like the Roman Empire.
Well, keep up the good fight, and I will too, Sean. I got to tell you, you know, shedding light on what's going on and educating folks. I mean, that's another whole story in itself, just our whole education system, everything. And you know, once people are enlightened in certain ways, and there's a shut-off valve too. A lot of people do just put up especially when you start.
It's too much to deal with.
It's too much to deal with.
It's like cognitive dissonance. I got to put my head in the sand. Exactly. I'd rather not see all this crap.
Right.
There's too much evil.
Too much.
My goodness. Lou, amazing journalist, standing on the front line, risking his life at many times, being targeted by many political elites, but he is in it for the long run. And it's talking about, you know, getting back to our spirit, getting back to our fundamental humanity. We don't want it. Good people stand idly by. That's what allows evil in the world. And when we stand up and we just do a little bit, even if it's just buying the Independent Gazette, even if it's just sharing the paper, even if it's allowing people to read these articles and then link to the different websites and the evidence that is shown in these articles, even if it's supporting patriot organizations, this is what the community needs to do. Because if you're not supporting each other, all these voices get swamped, yes, and they get crushed by the establishment and the swamp that our president is fighting against too. And so it's all about us sticking together. What did the Founding Fathers say? They say, put our life, our fortunes, and our sacred on the line. On the line. It's either we live together or hang separately. Fight together or hang separately. And if they can divide us, if they can split us off from each other and then isolate us and then destroy us one at a time, that's exactly what they're trying to do with censorship, FCC rules, with regulating the internet, with censoring conservative voices, with Diamond and Silk even being censored and demonetized on YouTube. They're coming after all the conservative voices. And it doesn't matter if you're big, it doesn't matter if you're small. You are still a voice, and your voice matters because you are made in the image of God. And when you connect with your consciousness that is true and that is not a predator and that really wants to see your children flourish, that's the same thing that every other good person has in their hearts as well. And it never gets better when you surrender to evil. It always gets worse. And your grandchildren and children will have to live with that. In the end, it's not about us. It's not about Lou. It's not about me. It's not about anybody else. It's about legacy, destiny. It's about our human journey to whether or not we are going to stand for righteousness and stand against unrighteousness and be in the image of God as we are created to be. Such crazy things, Lou, that we have to see on a daily basis, and I'm sure, my goodness, you have to see on a minute-to-minute basis doing the work that you do. God bless Independent Gazette, all the work that you're doing. We thank God for patriots like you who are still on the front line, trying to keep the tradition of independent journalism alive, like Project Veritas. Oh, they do great work, don't they?
Absolutely.
Great work. They do great work. James O'Keefe. You met him, right? He came last time. When did he came last time? With Bold Gold Media?
I know.
Were you there?
Yes, I helped James out a while back. Yeah, when he broke a story with Chris Christie, and he was still under house arrest, and he had called me to do some. Break some of the stories on the unions that he had at that particular point in time.
Praise God.
Yeah,
Roger Stone doing such incredible work.
Well, Roger, I've known Roger for a long time. He's been on my radio show a few times.
Oh, what incredible work he's doing. I thank God. Roger Stone is amazing.
I got to show you.
He's doing incredible work.
Yeah.
Anyways, all the Patriots, we're so thankful for all of you putting your necks on the line and standing up for truth. I mean, in the end, you're standing for human rights. You're standing for God-given rights, natural rights that are given to us by our Creator. In the end, it can't come from government. It can't come from people. It has to come from the transcendent source, the source of it all. It has to come from that because no government body, no human being can take those from us because they're given to us by our Creator. And we are thankful that our Creator has given us the JC ethic, the Jesus Christ ethic, that our Creator is He who is the Father, who protects children, who goes after the predators, who stands against unrighteousness, who calls His people to be strong and not full of fear, to stand against evil, wickedness in high places, principalities and powers, and to always remember to love Him and love your neighbor. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us this day on the King's Report. It's a crazy day every day. I tell you, it really gets us boggled in the mind sometimes. But we just got to stay focused, stay healthy, stay strong, eat healthy foods, and take care of yourself, your body, your mind, so you can stay focused. Everybody is in on the fight, and it is a good fight to be fighting, because in the end you have to fight for something. And if you choose not to do anything, you're still fighting for indifference, and you're choosing to sell out your children to George Soros and the World Bank and the UN. How pathetic is that? Give me a break. We're better than that, folks. And we are rising against the enemy. Thank you so much for joining us once again on the King's Report. We thank Lou for joining us. And we got to have him back again to give us more powerful information and more powerful stories that are coming out in the Independent Gazette. Support Lou. Support all the work he's doing. IndependentGazette.com. Is that your website? IndependentGazette.com?
ThePeoplesGazette.com.
ThePeoplesGazette.com. Pick up your paper. Support the Patriots. These are the guys that are risking their lives on the front line, putting it all on line. I'm talking about life, fortune, and sacred honor. They're putting it all on line, just like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, you name it. These are the living 1776 folks. All right? These are the people that we need to be supporting, that we need to be uplifting, because they're human beings too, and I'm sure they get down once in a while. We need to be praying for them. We need to be supporting their work as if it's a ministry, because in the end, we're in this together against spiritual wickedness in high places and what we call political Satanism. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp, with Tim Elder. And as always, God bless, Godspeed, and may His kingdom come.